Good evening. It's nice to see a full house, people engaged. This is going to be a good night to, worst. Yeah, I was hoping we'd see less people with this. I'm just kidding. Thank you for coming. So we're going to call the meeting to order right on time at 6 o'clock. We have two of our counselors still on spring break. Counselor Fleming and Counselor Bros are away. This doesn't impede any of our decision making, and we still have quorum. We could actually be without one more and still legally be within the MGA guidelines, but just to address the two empty chairs in the room. So we'll get rolling. So in the spirit of reconciliation, the town of Diamond Valley acknowledges and pays tribute to the traditional territories and the peoples of Treaty 7, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, Compromise, thank you, of the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nations, the Dene of Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nations, and the Métis Nation of Alberta. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. Please, just a friendly reminder to silence your phones, just so that we don't have any distractions. With having so many people here, it's just nice to remind everybody, myself included. I just did mine, and we see other counselors doing theirs. In the event of an emergency, we have our fire department chief here, who we're going to speak about in just a few moments. He will lead us bravely to the nearest exit and take care of us. Bathrooms are located in the back. And yeah, we'll just get things underway here with our agenda. Before I ask for an adoption of our agendas, we are going to take a moment to recognize our fire chief, TJ Moore, who is being recognized tonight by the Canadian Volunteer Fire Service Association, and they have developed a for members that have served between 10 and 29 years within the volunteer fire department. And we have a nice medal here that we're going to present to him, and we're going to get a picture with him. And municipal leaders and senior fire officials may nominate a volunteer or a volunteer paid on-call fire service member who has served at least 10 years for a recognized fire service, or a medical first responder provided in Canada for the Fire Service Award Medal for 10 years. So TJ, come on up, man. We'll get a picture with you. And it's great that we have such a big audience. And
that's a little unnerving now.
Yeah, congratulations.
21 years now, but I may as well start with 10.
We're
going to join you.
We'll come around.
Yeah.
We'll come around and stand with you, TJ.
Yeah. In single size.
All right.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, say cheese.
Cheese, please.
Yeah.
A couple. All right.
One more round for TJ.
Thanks.
You guys ready for the good stuff now?
You're in.
Let's go. Okay, so let's start things off with the consent agenda. I am going to take a motion, but before I take the motion, I did want to just spend one brief minute because I brought something for you guys from our car show organizer, Chris, who has been in a couple of times in the past few years. He organizes the car show in July, and he gave me something to pass on to everybody. So I'm just going to pull that item from the consent agenda. I'm not going to discuss the item that I pulled. It's there for you guys. Everyone's read it here. But if anyone else would like to read it, it's in the agenda. But just as an action item, I'm just going to quickly bump it up to 7.1. So everything else is going to fall by the wayside by 1 point there. And that will be very brief. But Chris had mentioned that he wanted me to pass these things on to you. So I have them. Cool. Somewhere. Okay. Now at this time.
So before we make that motion to adopt the consent, I want to pull off the waste services collection stats, because we have some great information that I don't want to just get lose sight of. I want that really well publicized.
Okay, perfect. Do you want to bump that one to the end of 7?
Yeah.
CAO? We'll go
That works, your worship.
7, I guess,
7,
with
7.
all the changes here, so 7, please, 6. Perfect. Okay, with that being said, counselors, anybody else want to pull anything from the consent agenda before adopting as amended? Would you like to give me a motion, Counselor Bain? Okay, excellent. Counselor Bain gives us a motion to adopt the consent agenda as amended. All those in favor? Excellent, carried unanimously. That's excellent. Oh, my notes here. Okay, and now let's get to the big stuff, our regular agenda. Just the one note, CAO Davey, in regards to the special, do you want me to add that to the end of the agenda?
We can, your worship,
Okay.
9.2.
9.2, so we are going to be adding, a motion or we need to call a special meeting at the end of April for the audit.
That's correct, your worship,
Okay.
2025 audit.
Perfect, excellent. Okay, and council or admin, anything else?
That is it.
Okay,
I'll give a motion to adopt.
I appreciate that. And Councilor Gordon gives us that motion to adopt as amended. All those in favor? And that one too is carried unanimously. Perfect. Now we can dive into the agenda. Okay, so we are going to 6:06. At this time, we're going to open up our question period, and we do have some questions. I have them all here with me. So most of the audience, I'm sure, has either written these or is aware of what we're going to be talking about. What we're going to be introducing tonight. This is the first time we've seen any of this, and I'll go through the questions one by one, and then I'll go through some of the answers to help give some clarity to some of these questions, and then in a couple of years we'll have a greater discussion about this. Okay, let's start things off with the questions. So we open at 6:06. All right, this one is from, excuse my flipping back and forth, Matt Williams, Diamond Valley. Matt asks, this question is for the public question section of the April 15th, 2026 Town Council meeting. When the residents of Diamond Valley were canvassed regarding the plans for infill development along 3rd Street and 6th Ave, not one individual, with the exception of mayor and one councilman, knew about the mayor and council's plan to convert the municipal property along 3rd Street and 6th Ave into municipal surplus land with the intent of selling it for development. Can you please tell us what the process that was used to ensure the citizens, especially those directly affected, were made aware of these plans? I'm going to read them all out first, and then I'll answer them because all the answers are going to help with this. But just briefly, we haven't talked about this yet as a council. This is the first time that we're talking about this. So I will answer these in great detail after I go through all these, but that's just a brief side note. Kim Williams. Diamond Valley. Questions for public questions for April 15th, 2026 council meeting. It is concerning to see documented in the development and fail to say this word.
Consolidation.
Thanks, John. Consolidation plan. Thanks.
It's all good.
I'm reading too far ahead. That the main reason for the sale of this property is to help pay for the future development identified in the intermunicipal plan. Is it the mayor and council's intent to sell the green space along 3rd Street and 6th Ave for development to help waive developers' fees in future residential growth, making the citizens of Diamond Valley as the payees of these development fees? Does the mayor and council feel this is good value for the current residents of Diamond Valley? Number 2, we recognize the sale of this property is easy and is a financial decision for a town whose expenses have grown due to amalgamation and the town's rush to expand and develop. The citizens of Diamond Valley did not expect this mayor and council to take their lead from other communities who have rushed to make their town bigger and better at the cost of locals who have helped shape this community for 100 years. Is it this mayor and council's plan to erode green space throughout the town to pay for their continued growth and development, forgetting that the residents who reside here are very clear they have moved to Diamond Valley for a lifestyle and quality of life it provides? How do you explain to the residents of Diamond Valley that the town knows best and that citizens have no voice over the changes planned by the town? Number 3. We would like to take this time to thank the estate of Gordon Gray for the ecological land gift to Diamond Valley that runs between the two parts of the town. While it was done for ecological protection and not recreation, we recognize how forward-thinking this gift was and its significant value to the community. We would also like to thank White Moose Ranch, who in 2018 donated a significant portion of their land located just west of the town of Diamond Valley to the Nature Conservatory of Canada for conservation. Looking to the future, ensuring that the land would stay in its natural state and could not be developed or subdivided. We ask the mayor and council to be as forward-thinking and ask if they will protect this green space along 3rd Street and 6th Ave by making it a gift to the people of Diamond Valley by dedicating it to the residents of the town as an official municipal park. Okay. Stephanie Faith. Perfect, yeah. Okay. Kyle, who I see. Hey, Kyle. Okay, sorry, I'm just gonna read through the notes here. Okay, good afternoon, council. I live in Riverwood, directly backing onto the parcel south of one of your agenda. In your agenda, 299 6th Ave Southwest, and I've received the town's GIS and tonight's materials. The GIS shows this land, including the parcel to the south, is designated municipal reserve. While that is noted, the materials focus primarily on public service zoning and valuation, without clearly emphasizing that this is protected MR land and that any sale or redevelopment would first require removal of that designation through a formal legal process under the Municipal Government Act with public input. The process overview identifies MR removal as the first step, but presents it as a streamlined process when in reality it is a significant legal and public decision point requiring clear justification, council approval, and opportunity for community input and opposition. The materials also refer to potential future uses and valuation assumptions, which suggests a direction before the MR process and community involvement has occurred. This raises concerns about transparency and how clear the full context and process are being communicated. My question for council is, part A, please clarify whether council is consider initiating the formal process under the Municipal Government Act to remove this municipal reserve designation, and if so, how it will ensure required public notification, opportunity for residents to provide input and opposition, and full transparency before any steps are taken, and specifically what justification council is relying on to determine that this community green space is no longer required. Part B, and how does this approach align with the town's commitment to meaningful community engagement in the 2025 and 2026 development plan, particularly in ensuring residents are meaningfully informed and involved before any consideration is given to changing the use or disposition of municipal reserve land? This plan isn't just about politics and a map. It's about people. It reflects the voices, ideas, and hard work of residents, businesses, and stakeholders who all care about this town. That was really great, Kyle. That touches on a lot of stuff that I'm going to talk about in the answers regarding this, because this is, like I mentioned earlier, years away. Like the redesignation is years away. We're not even close. So I'll touch on that, but that's a really informed letter. Thank you. Okay. Lisa Bannister, Diamond Valley. Okay. Do you, as mayor and council, believe that inner city municipal green space is less valuable to the community residents as park and recreational property moving forward as the city doubles in size, or as residential property, which will take this green space away for generations to come? Thank you, Lisa. We'll speak to that as well. Okay, two left. We'll do the long one first. Okay. Robert Kavanaugh. I believe I said that right. Hey, Robert. Did I say that okay?
Yeah, not bad.
Kavanaugh.
There you go.
Okay, he's whispering to me. Kavanaugh. Thanks, Robert. Okay, questions. Being that the green space at 299 6th Ave Southwest is utilized by the community for a great many benefits, such as watching the fireworks, outdoor concerts, community recreation, Connections Nature Play, outdoor school for the pre-K, to name a few. Where does council see these activities be relocated to? So as an example, and I found this was a great example. I live right there in the same cul-de-sac as many of the people that are here. And I thought the parade was an excellent use of the staging area. Staging grounds for the parade, truck, trailers, and horses. Where does council presume that element of our long traditional Western heritage be relocated to? Number 2, 6th Ave is a large alley at best, unpaved, being that there is no capacity to expand that road due to the feeder NG natural gas line that runs through it and the storm water swale. The proposed lot 1MR and has a 50-meter offset north and south. How does council mean to counteract the increased stresses, traffic on one lane undeveloped road? Number 3, there is drainage support that runs parallel to 6th Ave in the form of a swale. I've personally seen that swale at 70% capacity. If the southeast annexed land is developed as it is slotted to be residential use, how does council presume the added stormwater be dealt with all the extra capacity? Is it possible that the lot 1MR be preserved under the 10.3 environmental reserve lands? So this is a quote from page 119 of the MDP 10.3. Environmental reserve lands are designated to protect and preserve Diamond Valley's natural features, including swamps, gullies, ravines, coulees, natural drainage courses, lands that are unstable or subject to flooding, and land adjacent to the bed and shore of any water body. These lands play a vital role in preventing erosion, managing stormwater, and maintaining water quality in the Sheep River watershed, while also providing opportunities for passive recreation, such as natural trails and wildlife viewing. Land can be designated as an environmental reserve if it includes swamps, gullies, ravines, coulees, or natural drainage courses. Land that is prone to flooding or considered unstable, a strip of land at least 6 meters wide, next to the bed and shore of any lake, river, stream, or other body of water, such as a wetland. During the subdivision process, the town subdivision authority assesses the land. Number 4, I spoke to the development officer on Thursday the 9th regarding a concept that lot 1MR and 16MR at 299 6th Ave Southwest be located to future development of 2 U5-U11 soccer pitches and an outdoor basketball court. It was met with the notion that my proposal would be best developed on the south side of the golf course road. Is putting green space, recreational space for communities on less valuable land and less accessible land paired with the language in the municipal development plan. Question. Quote, allow flexibility in the types of non-residential uses in established community areas such as limited neighborhood commercial development, home-based businesses, mixed use buildings, and parks and open spaces that contribute to complete communities. That was on page 44 of the MDP. Well written. Thank you very much, Robert. Okay, final question here tonight. This one is from Trish Chillington and Rob, my next door neighbors. I don't know if they've come in yet. No, they haven't. Do you, as mayor and council, believe that inner city municipal green space is less valuable to the community residents as park and recreational property moving forward as the city doubles in size, or as residential property which will take this green space away for generations to come. Okay,
And I don't think that's the right question. Because that's the question you read out for Lisa.
They probably use the same one. We've
Yeah,
had
they-
that happen before.
they may have just submitted the same question to me, Kim. I
You
can,
submitted the question to me, so.
okay, let me, I have a package here as well that I can quickly look at. Let me just look and see what I have here, because everything's labeled right here.
Yeah, those are the 6 we received, your worship.
Okay. Just quickly look at this file as well and see if it's the same thing. Right there. I think she's, yeah, I have it as one file here, Kim, and it's the same thing.
Do you want me to read the question that she gave me?
Do you want to give it to me?
I will.
I'll read it.
Okay. This question right
Number 5. Okay. Okay, from Trish, Chillington, and Rob. The mayor and council acknowledge, oh. This, okay, hold on a second here. It's supposed to have the indigenous component at the top of
Yes,
it?
yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
sorry, I thought it sounded exactly what I said at the beginning of the meeting. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll read this through. The mayor and council acknowledges and pays tribute to the traditional territories of the people of Treaty 7, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy comprised of Siksika, the Piikani and Kainai First Nations, the Dene Tsuut'ina First Nations, and the Stoney Dakota, including Chiniki, Bears Pond, Goodstoney First Nations, and the Métis Nation of Alberta. With that documented, has the town completed an archaeological assessment on the property of Third Street and 6th Ave to ensure that cultural values are preserved and respected? Okay, we probably won't have an answer to that one tonight because I haven't seen this question yet, but we can certainly circle back to it. I'll leave it with administration. Do you want this back?
If you don't mind.
Not at all. Yeah,
Okay.
we're recorded, so. Okay. Yeah, no problem, Kim. I'd rather deal with it all in one fell swoop than have some of these trickle in at a later meeting and then we kind of have to reopen this over and over again. Okay, so again, appreciate all of the questions. I too am a member of Riverwood, and as I mentioned, many of you here are my neighbors. Excuse my non-eye contact, I'm just getting ready to prepare for some of the things that we have earmarked in response to these questions, because we don't want people to leave unhappy tonight. And we want you to leave with more information than you came in with, if at all possible. So I'm just gonna go through some notes here that CEO Davey and I have considered and discussed, just to help at the very least bring some of the temperature down and maybe relieve some of the tense or stressful notions that this land will be going up for sale tomorrow or next year. This has been a part of the municipal development plan, as was mentioned in these questions quite a bit, was when we did the municipal development plan, we asked the residents who attended where they would like to see growth. And part of that discussion was Colts Crossing. And I know where some of the residents in this room stand on Colts Crossing, and they voiced their opinions strongly about that. And so instead of focusing on a brand new town that ultimately would likely double the size of our population, we looked inward, current infrastructure and space that's available in town. And we kind of put Colts Crossing to the side, so to speak. And in doing that, we asked administration to identify properties within town boundaries that we could develop. And again, using current infrastructure is less expensive. We create new developments within existing places here in our community, both on the Turner Valley and Black Diamond side. And this portion of land was identified as one of those available spaces, one of 17, sorry.
11 to 14.
11 to 14. As I mentioned before, we've yet to talk about any of these spaces. And if you stick around after question period and the delegations, we're going to address kind of the first phase of that, which will be the next year, so to speak, about selling the building that we're sitting in right now. That's the first phase, because this property, the Old Town Office of Turner Valley, has effectively been mothballed for a year. And part of amalgamation, while noted in one of the questions that amalgamation has increased our costs, it's quite the opposite. Our costs have gone down quite a bit. And part of consolidating the two communities, we have additional resources that we no longer need. And this property is one of those properties. And because this property doesn't affect a lot of people, other than the homeowners across the street, who we've already talked to, we thought wise to start with something that was less abrasive and less confrontational, and get a sense of where the community stood on starting to sell essentially access land. Because otherwise it's just going to sit here and it'll become a liability. Nobody's been using the town office. Nobody uses the buildings in the back. The pipes freeze up in here in the winter time. It's cold, it's hot, it's uncomfortable in here. We have our chambers in a trailer. So we want to do better for the community. We want to be more presentable. We want to look towards the future, long-term future. So again, I want to thank you for the questions. I'm just going to go, that was kind of my own sidebar. So many of the submissions, I'm just going to read a few of my notes here. Many of the submissions raise the importance of meaningful consultation. So for context, the town completed an extensive 2-year public engagement process for the development of the municipal development plan, which was formally adopted last fall by council. And that process included multiple opportunities for residents to provide input, which we heard from, and I recognized quite a few faces that attended some of those open houses. And again, as a result of that plan, which was supported by council, because that's what we heard back from our community members, the calls for infill development increased that density. So having more townhouses or having more in-law suites, so to speak, that was something that we heard about a lot. Your parents can live with you, or maybe you can't afford to buy a $700,000 house, but if you have an in-law suite in the basement, you might be able to afford that if you can rent it out. So greater housing choice to be established in the community. So can you say that word again? Consolidation. I don't know why that fails me today. Consolidation and divestment strategy aligns directly with the vision and policies set out in the approved MDP, and represents our primary opportunity to fund much needed infrastructure maintenance, which you're going to hear about quite a bit tonight. Where land sales proceeds are going to help to offset future infrastructure upgrades, which is a big piece of what this council is going to be trying to do for the next 3.5 years, is trying to establish our growing infrastructure deficit, which would be well north of $60 million, and it climbs every year. And we're not alone in that. We're not the only community that's dealing with that. Calgary's a prime example. We've seen water main break after water main break. We're trying not to find ourselves in a position of constantly spending 3 times as much to replace the same pipes if we can identify those problems before they arise. So with that being said, this part of where we sit, this piece of green space, is in phase 4. And we're going to talk about that probably in about 20 to 30 minutes. And it's been identified as a 2028 conversation. We're not going to do anything behind your back. We're not going to try to redesignate it next year without properly notifying. That would be illegal. It's against the MGA, as noted in some of the questions, certainly the one that Kyle provided. And so we appreciate the questions brought forward, but tonight we're really only looking at phase 1 of that report, because phase 4 is, as you know, still 3 phases away from phase 1. And this isn't something that it's been phased appropriately so that we don't jump anything in particular. We're not trying to jump from one property to another. We're not trying to get ahead of administration. We don't want to burden administration and say, sell everything this summer. That would be great. Well, not necessarily great. But we want to take things step by step. And this is part of that public consultation, as I can tell by looking in the room. This is what we're doing. So while some of the notes suggest that we want to go bigger and better and faster and you know, we're trying to do things without proper consultation, that's very far from the truth. I'll give you an example when it comes to growth. I was read an article this morning about Cochrane. We often get compared to Cochrane. Cochrane just released a report this past weekend that their growth last year was 6.4%. They welcomed 2,200 residents last year alone. Okay. To give you an example of our growth, we would be sitting somewhere around 1 to 1.5% growth. And when you look at average inflation, if we grow slower than inflation, we don't keep up the pace with increased taxes. We need a sustainable amount of growth. In council's mind, 2%, 2.5%. That's okay. That would seem appropriate. We have 5,400 people. Can do some quick math on that. Might be a couple hundred residents a year that we welcome into our community, which a couple dozen homes, maybe 30, 40 homes a year. And we didn't even see that much growth last year. So that just gives you a little bit of context about how slowly we actually are growing. And so I just want to help kind of eliminate some of that stress about this council's vision about how we look at the potential of where we're growing. And that was a big part of the NDP and how quickly we grow. And that's why we had our concerns and a lot of questions about a community like Colts Crossing or development in Colts Crossing. And again, that just goes back to why we're talking about infill. So any future consideration of its disposition would include a full statutory process under the Municipal Government Act, the MR removal, a public hearing, redesignation if desired. Council is not making any decision tonight. The reason we're bringing it forward is the overall strategy now is to start the conversation and properly situate the long-term plan of council and the community. If you want to read some more before we look at this in 2 years, potentially, like if we come back to this in 2 years, because a lot can happen in 2 years. There are some staff reports from 2024 and 2025, and you're welcome to read through those staff reports. They are in part attached. Is that the ones that we're going to be talking about tonight?
The ones tonight just summarize your worship. So yeah, you could just Google it.
Okay. And so let's just briefly touch on the why, because I did mention infrastructure and I do want to help residents. I alluded to that $60 million number. That would be on the low side. We're probably north of $100 million. We have an infrastructure master plan that's coming this fall that we've requested administration to look into for us. The master plan is going to identify where we sit currently with our infrastructure, how old our pipes are, when they need to be replaced, what's at greatest risk for breaking. Are they clay? Are they steel? Do they need to be paved on top? How old are the pipes underneath there? So we're going to take a look at that this year. And, you know, to be blunt, we're going to see a lot of red on that report. And we're not going to be able to replace all the infrastructure that needs to be replaced right away. It's not possible. We deal with a budget less than $18 or $19 million a year. And when we see that report, in hindsight, or excuse me, not in hindsight, being able to look at that and digest it is likely going to be in the tens of millions of dollars. And so part of trying to provide relief and not a decrease in taxes is to identify areas where we can recover money that ultimately doesn't get passed on to you as residents. And part of that is the building that we're sitting in. It's worth maybe $100,000. That is just over a 1% tax increase a year. We roughly on average it's about $80,000 per 1% that we increase, just for information purposes. So if we're looking at a $1 million project, you're looking at a 9 to 10% tax increase, and you can't do very much for $1 million. So that just puts things into context a little bit. So we're trying to be as efficient as we can be. And we're not building new assets, we're replacing aging water sewer infrastructure that is at or near or beyond its life cycle. So initial estimates show a $2 to $4 million annual funding gap. So a gap would be the province last year gave us like $1.6 million for infrastructure. That number continues to decrease year over year. Can't do a lot with $1.6 million. For context, when we did first behind AG Foods, you remember that off the top of your head? It was like $3.5 to $4 million.
A bit less, your worship.
Bit less?
But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think without turning over to Craig, you're about $1 million a block for everything all in.
Yeah. So when we talk about the gap, this is where, you know, we need to be talking to the province as much as we need to be, you guys need to be talking to us. And so we advocate on your behalf. We're constantly advocating to the province that we need more money. And again, we're not the only community whose funding decreases every year. It's every municipality in Canada or in Alberta. So every year that passes that we don't address the issues that are in front of us, the gap grows bigger. So if we can only use $1.6 million that they give us every single year, our gap increases by about $2.5 to $3 million every single year that it passes. So where do we get that money from? We increase taxes. We build. We wait for a disaster, and then we spend all the reserves that we have. These are really the reality of the situation that we're in. It's not desirable, but it's something that we have to talk about at length, and that's why I'm taking so long to answer these questions, just so that there's some context here. So to illustrate the scale, the appraised value of phase 4, that green space alone, is $2.19 million. So again, that was part of the administrative inquiry. It was not meant to say, perfect, we got a number, let's put it up for sale. In all likelihood, in 2 years, that property is probably going to be worth more. The way that the economy is moving. That doesn't mean we're going to sell it in 2 years. That means that we're starting the conversation. So 2.19 million is equivalent to roughly 25 to 30% one-time tax increase. So if we don't sell that and we need to replace our infrastructure, we'd be looking for a 25 to 30% tax increase in that year. That's the reality of where we sit. So without proceeds from strategic divestments, which is what we're talking about right now, the alternatives are significant tax increases or deep service cuts. Last year, we were looking at a 22% tax increase. And that was a big pill for myself, newly elected, back in the chair as mayor, and my councillors. And we set upon a fairly impossible task of Adam, our CAO, to bring that number way down. And that resulted in 20% of our staff being cut at the town office. You want to cut 20% every year, in 4 years, we have no more staff. So again, we are stuck in between a provincial rock and a hard place of failing infrastructure in our community that we're trying to resolve as best we can with the least impact on our residents. The upcoming 2027 budget will remain challenging. We see inflation. We see rising heat costs, electricity, fuel just skyrocketed thanks to Trump. And we are going to have another tall hill in front of us this fall when we come back. It seems like we don't get a break really from talking about budget, but that's where our passion for, we all pay the same taxes here in town. We're not immune to taxes. Myself as mayor, I pay the same taxes as everyone sitting here tonight. So do my councillors. And so there's no real benefit to me increasing your taxes because I pay the same thing. I pay the same water rates. When we increase water rates for water loss recovery and for full cost recovery, I pay the same thing. So we want to be as tight and strict as we possibly can. But we also want to have a vibrant and growing and cultured community that is Our fire department's well-funded. When you call about a dog or something going on, our municipal enforcement can attend. If something's going on in your property, our public works manager, Greg, is here tonight. We want those calls to be answered. We want the emails to flow to the right places. And if we can't figure out how to come up with more money in one way or another, and that does not mean just this piece of land being considered for sale, those phone calls might not be answered right away. And that's concerning to us. Our CMP costs continue to go up. We're constantly, I don't want to say at odds, but we're constantly discussing things with them about how to provide the best services to our residents so that you see they're visible in the community, they make an impact. And the same thing goes for every department that we have in town. We want our grass to be cut. We want the snow to be removed. These are the things that we discuss at length over many, many meetings. So if you don't want to cut staff, well, then we cut services. You don't want to cut services, taxes go up. You don't want your taxes to go up, we need development. You don't want people to build, the list goes on and on. It's a vicious cycle of what are we supposed to do? So this is why it's so great to have everyone here tonight. Because it gives us renewed perspective on what is meaningful to the community. We're well aware that green space is always at the forefront of these conversations. We live in my opinion, one of the most beautiful places in not only Alberta, but Canada. Call it God's country for a reason. Jonathan, Councillor Gordon here has always wanted our motto to be
The place to live.
the capital THE, the place to live. And but that means, we need some development. We need to attract businesses, and it's, the cart before the horse. And I digress a little bit here, but I think I'll leave it at that for now because we do have a delegation that's going to speak to this. We won't have a lot to say after the delegation because I've laid out, the majority of the context here. Probably been talking for 20 or 30 minutes, to be honest with you. But this is important. And I didn't want your time to seem like it was invaluable tonight. I wanted to be transparent as best I could, because that was something that was addressed, the lack of transparency. And I hope that most of you know that that's not who I've tried to present myself as your mayor. I've always tried to be transparent. I try to communicate as best I do in terms of how I think I'm communicating, but if I'm failing in that, please let me know. I don't take questions or conversations or anything personally. I keep the emotion out of it, but these things are emotionally charged. These will have a direct impact on some people's way of life, and I can appreciate that. As I mentioned, I live in that cul-de-sac. Three of my neighbors are here tonight. One of my neighbors just moved in and would not have expected the proposal of a new development in his backyard, and I did not know that when he moved in just before summer. I had no idea because this was not something that was on our radar then. And I say that truthfully, like that. I'm not here trying. Oh, I had no idea that this was happening. I truthfully mean that we did not foresee this type of thing unfolding, but here we are. So I hope that helps a little bit. I hope that I've answered the majority of the questions, other than the archaeological dig, that I can certainly talk to Trish and Rob about when I see them next. But at this point, I think we don't have any other questions. So we'll just move on with the agenda. So thank you again for listening to me. I hope that helps a little bit. And I will close the question period at 6:44. Do you want to address that after the delegation? Okay. So my trusty deputy here has made notes of things that I did not address. So I'll let I thought I did okay.
You did a great job.
Thanks. We're gonna move into delegations. I'm gonna give I know that Matt's here. Matt will have some time to kind of let that stew a little bit before he has his delegation. But we have Sergeant Len here from Fish and Wildlife. So I'm gonna invite him up. Please, thank you. If you'd like to come sit up here, and we'll move on to delegations. And then after that, we'll be listening to Matt, and I'll let Councillor or Deputy Mayor Gordon address that question that you asked. Okay, take a deep breath here. Evening.
Evening, how are you?
Good, great. Yeah, great. It's really good to see this many people, and I'm sure they're gonna be interested in things that you have to say as well.
I hope so.
Because a lot of our properties kind of touch on some of that environmental reserve, and that kind of impacts wildlife corridors and all that good stuff. So TJ, how do you want to do this, man? Do you want to come sit up here and
I think
we'll
I
just
should give a quick welcome, so,
Sure.
Len's here from Fish and Wildlife, he's the supervisor for the region. For some of the new council, this was a request of the previous council to have Fish and Wildlife come to speak to some of the ongoing concerns in the community regarding our deer population. And then some of the newer concerns we have. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the big flock of turkeys are actually right in front of the town office right now. So they made a showing here for Fish and Wildlife conveniently. But we didn't get to do it on the last council, so we had an opportunity to have Len come tonight. We've been working with Len to address some of the recent turkey issues. We've had some success through some of the advice we've gotten. We all know Manager Beaton with the Public Works have been dealing with deer for a number of years. The previous council has been dealing with deers. And obviously, I think one of the things that drove the request to have Fish and Wildlife come was to address some of the unknowns. Sometimes there's assumptions, sometimes there's a misunderstanding of who can deal with things, what can be done. And ultimately, I think we just wanted to give an opportunity for Fish and Wildlife to speak to what they do, how they do it. If there's any questions or concerns from council, I know Len's come prepared tonight. He's got a lot of information I think he's going to share. In the past couple of months we've been working with Len, he's shared a lot of eye-opening stuff with us too that have allowed us to understand better how the system works. Because that's ultimately what some of the frustrations are, is working within the system. And many of us in this room don't have control of that system, including Len. So keep that in mind. He's just one person in the big picture. And I think we're all looking forward to hearing what he has to say. And I'll leave it to council to ask questions and concerns once he's wrapped up his, I know, well-prepared presentation. So, yeah.
Thanks, TJ. Len,
Well,
do you want to start this off? Yeah.
like seriously, thanks for having me come here because I don't get invited to many because I do handle things on the fly just as a way to try and curtail some issues before they get too big. Okay. Just the one thing I did look on the town's website for wildlife. It's a good job. Like I've looked at a few other communities. I've ran Wetaskiwin, Camrose, Medicine Hat, and here in High River District, I take care of Okotoks, Diamond Valley, Longview, and all the communities. And in your website does a good job. Okay, so and it's just a matter of every community really has to have their own nuance, not has to, but has their nuances to how they work out. And your Diamond Valley is just in a position now of moving forward with town's growing. Okay, so Okotoks was in a very similar situation a couple of years ago. I worked well with their on board, if you know Lord Whiteside. He's the Parks and Forestry guy out of Okotoks. I worked well with him. So, but I've got a few things on the board or to share. But before we get that, I'm just going to read something real quick to kind of touches on everything I'm going to talk about, and then we'll get into specifics. It might spear some questions that you might have. Or answer some questions. So I'll just go through this real quick. So when it comes to, I think one of the questions is what do you do with wildlife? Right. Well, injured wildlife or that. So I'm just gonna go and just read some of this stuff, and it'll, like I said, spear some questions. So anytime there's a wildlife causing, specifically deer, if it's like a gopher, we don't obviously respond against them. You'd be surprised. Some people do think we do, but like if it's injured deer, it's obviously either call the reporter poacher line, and if you don't have that number, I think most people do, but or the RCMP local here. If a deer is moving around and feeding fine, we do not respond. There's nothing wrong with a deer that's walking around feeding and drinking. We had a deer down in Medicine Hat. I'm the kind of person who gives you anecdotal evidence and little stories. But we had a deer down in Medicine Hat. She had 3 wrecked legs, and she raised twins every other year. So they are very capable of surviving on two legs, or one. If it's gravely injured, it's bed down, not moving. diseased or something like that, then it's something that you need to call us about. If it's acting aggressive, that's something we'll respond to, or at least give some ideas. And also, if we can't, there is some discussion about FWES, Fish and Wildlife Enforcement Services, so FWES is what we call it. If FWES can't respond, we can use SHIP, which is the Sheriff's Highway Patrol, and the RCMP. So with that, there's a lot of staff that have the opportunity to come and assist whatever's in the town for dangerous wildlife. It's just not us. So we actually pare it down over. So the responses are basically all the same. And then you don't have many moose in town. You have the odd bear, a few cougars. Like every year, you guys have cougars in town. We've removed cougars out of town. We've tried to move bears out of town. We'll get into some of that later on. I haven't heard of any calls about bobcats in town. Bobcats really aren't that much of a threat. They sound noisy and they make lots of racket when you get close to them, but some people are really worried about them. They're more of a nuisance. Coyotes, again, they can be dangerous, but they're more of a nuisance. I know in the previously, when it comes to hawks and owls in town, we have had calls, raptors swooping down, attacking people or scaring them off. Legislatively, the nests are protected. So there are ways of in adverse training to stop hawks from swooping down. That's not something that Diamond Valley would be doing because it's our job. Okay, we can give advice. Okay, so that's not something that we would put on you. Anything that's like a safety wise when it comes to that, obviously the reported poacher. For all wildlife, for all other wildlife other than deer or dangerous wildlife, we're talking like birds and mammals and all that. Some of the rehab centers can be called. I mean, it's nothing that Diamond Valley should take on for themselves. Because there's already a structure or a process in place to deal with that. Again, same thing with abandoned wildlife, deer, fawns, birds, bunnies. Some people like to collect little bunnies. Again, it's people need to leave it alone. Rehab, it's nothing that the town should take care of at all. Again, you may encounter diseased wildlife, being a deer, birds, like avian flu. Again, that's something that you would refer to us, and we can pass it on to agriculture or a biologist. Again, really, it's not up to your public works to deal with that stuff. It's our biologists that should be managing that stuff. They may ask for some assistance for collection. They ask us for a collection of, like we had the big sheep call a couple of years ago. We were part of that because they needed some extra manpower. So again, yeah, you shouldn't expect your staff to be collecting as part of their regular duties unless we ask for help and you feel it's okay. Migratory birds, being at like woodpeckers, that sort of thing, geese. Again, I will get into geese more, but for woodpeckers, and we get these calls about what we're gonna do with the woodpecker that's putting holes in our houses. And it happens a lot, you'd be surprised.
Not insurable, either.
You're right, you're right. So again, it's not something you should take on. People will call y'all and say, hey, you know what, Fish and Wildlife isn't doing anything. You guys need to do something. Well, no, it's not your responsibility. Responsibility. It's not a nuisance. It's not, or it is a nuisance, but it's not a pest as far as a go for that sort of thing. The homeowner, I'll get into this later. Landowner or the homeowner needs to take some responsibility. Already talked about orphan wildlife. Really, a lot of this stuff comes down to. Pardon me? Sorry, oh, that's
You're okay, Len.
Okay, sorry.
Just the audience.
Okay, Diamond Valley may make a policy, it's up to you, how you want your responsibility with particular wildlife problems or pest problems. Because under Section 6 of the Agriculture Pest Act is what governs what you can and cannot do or should do. And really, if it's a pest, we don't deal with it. We're not gonna deal with gophers in town. You may come up with a policy of the resident goes and deals with either, I'll give you an example, gophers. I know the town of, or the city of Medicine Hat actually hires a staff member to go and kill gophers. I'm not suggesting you do that, not at all, but that's how they've managed gopher issue, that pest issue. But when it comes to skunks, the landowner goes and rents a trap or buys a trap or hires a pest control company. So you have a whole gamut of opportunity for you to either give them advice and talking to a pest control company, all the way to, heard the conversation before about staffing costs, hiring somebody, but I'm not suggesting that's what you do. Okay, that's the whole,
Got room for that? I think people would want to, I think they want cats captured first.
Yeah, well,
Don't open that door.
I know, I know.
So I just gave you a quick list. Bees and wasps. I mean, some people want the town to do it. Crows, gophers, magpies, mice, moles, voles, pigeons, porcupines, rabbits, raccoons. This is type of wildlife. You have raccoons here that could potentially cause a nuisance. Okay, now geese. I'm just mentioning geese here because geese on, let's say, golf courses. That is something that needs extra permitting. So there may be extra permitting that is required for certain species. Okay, that's where you call, hey, Len, what's the deal with this? And let's see, moving on. We already talked to Agriculture Pests Act. Bats are the same thing. Dead animals in town. If you have dead wildlife like deer or whatever in town, they're garbage. We don't pick them up. Okay, if we do, it's because we are being nice. We don't have to. Generally, the other officer and I, if we're in the area, we'll do it. You know, it's no skin off our back to just throw a deer in the back sometimes. But if we got another file around something else wrong, is the way we will do it. Just garbage collection. Yeah. So snakes. We'll move on. Turkeys.
Ah,
Yeah, turkeys. So I did give you on my email.
Yep.
We only got the one, I'll get into stats here in a bit, but we only had one call from the town of Diamond Valley regarding turkeys, but turkeys is on the landscape. It's a new issue in the last couple of years in my district. So I'll back up. The history on turkeys is what happened is ACA, Alberta Conservation Association, in conjunction with the Hunting and Fishing Branch, decided to go to BC and capture a bunch of turkeys. And BC said, well, hey, we've got some whole pile of turkeys in all the residences causing problems. So they went and captured a whole pile of turkeys and brought them to Alberta. Come on. I can't comment. Anyways, so we have all these BC turkeys in Alberta. I wasn't involved.
you can't make this up. It's
I ain't
like,
making it up.
it's like, we have a problem, you guys should take them. No,
Sure.
yeah, I don't see this being a problem for us.
Yeah, so anyways, so we have a whole bunch of turkeys now.
Yeah.
So we have had multiple turkey issues where they come into people's houses, or not houses, their porches, their decks, the haystacks and all that. The other officer and I, more the other officer than myself, has taken on the task of trying to figure out how to manage these and contacted ACA. And more recently, as of yesterday, we were working on this. And as of yesterday, we got approval to share. You've got that. Yeah.
Is it the document?
It's this by email. If you look at my email, it's just a ACA contact. So if you guys have issues with turkeys, you can, as the town, can contact the ACA. I think there's an email address and a website.
Yeah, we can get it up on the town website for you.
Yeah.
We'll make sure it's out there.
Yeah, okay, good. I just want to make sure you got it. You don't have to bring it up, but I just make sure you got it.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, perfect. So it is on them. They are more than happy to come and pick up, not more than happy, but they will come and pick up turkeys. They had to get some, yeah. Anyways, they do have some net guns. They're trying to get some new equipment because their old net guns are not usable. So you get some new stuff and yeah, so they're net guns, yes.
I said, real.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I heard that.
Skip the net.
So.
Sounds like Monty Python, come on. I mean.
Well, I can't comment on that. We'll just leave it alone.
No, that's fair.
Okay, I did I share the Turkey survey and population augmentation in that?
I have something here called document 1. I don't know
No,
what's in it.
no, that's not it. There is actually a website. I apologize for not sharing that with you. It's basically, from ACA. It might be in that document I sent you. But yeah, they'll have all that. We talked about skunks briefly again. There is another option of, and I'm not suggesting you do this, some communities, buy their own traps and rent them out. We used to rent out traps and load out traps. It is a nightmare because traps can get broken. They don't come back. And it is an administrative nightmare. So it's an option either way. Feeding wildlife. So I'm gonna use Okotoks as an example, then I'll come to Diamond Valley. When I got to Okotoks, almost every group or cluster of deer complaints that I received in Okotoks, being an aggressive buck, an aggressive doe, deer getting hit, a deer not leaving the backyard, deer getting impaled by a fence, were clusters around where people were feeding wild. Okay, 100%. Okay, Gord Whiteside and I worked together I'm not gonna take credit for it, but Gord and I talked. Gord was able to put forward a bylaw, and they have a bylaw in place. And it's taken probably about 5 or more years to where I've seen that cluster and dangerous wildlife situation taper off, because it takes a while for the deer to die. And so those older deer are starting to peter off. We started marking deer that were aggressive and making contact, because every mule deer looks almost the same. So we have paintball guns. So if there's an aggressive deer, we'll try and mark it. And if it is an aggressive deer, we'll move it. Okay. Straight up, there's nothing nice or good about it. If it's hurting dogs, hurting people, we remove it. Thanks. Where was I? Now let's move to Diamond Valley. I've got some stats to show you, but I'll touch base on it. About 3 years ago, we had the mule deer fawn with a plastic bucket around its head. That was straight up from people feeding it. Okay, and every time I'd come out here, I'd respond about 3 or 4 times trying to find it. It's running around. If it was an injured deer, we wouldn't have bothered coming, but because it had a bucket on its head, I mean, we responded. And then more recently, we had the bear. I'll touch on this one right now. Bear last fall in September. I go there. I found out the bear that was just on the pathway along the river. You know what I'm talking about?
Friendship Trail.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. Yes. So I'll give you the whole history on that. I get there. I set a bear trap. I got the bear on camera. It won't go in the trap. So the whole backstory of that is a person was feeding birds on their deck, had the bird feeder on the table, on the deck. They were sitting in their yard or in their house, watching the birds feed, and then the deer would come up, eat the feed out of the bird feeder, kick it on the ground. The bear smells the feed. He comes, or the bear comes, eats that. Now there's a compost bin beside it, knocks compost bone. So it's a perpetual increase of problem, and it all stemmed from feeding wildlife. I couldn't catch the bear because why would it go into one of our bear traps when it's got all this garbage? And I think the pickup was every other week.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's got garbage, 2-week-old garbage, compost 2 weeks old, and why would it go in a trap? I didn't catch the bear. That bear will show up again, 100%, and try and catch it again.
I'll give you some of my compost.
Yeah, we tried that actually. That's one of the things we do try, but
That's fair.
we won't get into that. Okay, the other thing I did, and I will offer this if y'all want to. I may still have some signs. I did give some signage to Okotoks, and I'd have to look at what signage I have available. I'd actually just thought about it on the way here. I don't know why I didn't think it sooner, but I could potentially get you some signage for aggressive. I can't remember what I have right now, but I could give that to the town if they're interested.
You let us know what you got, and
Okay.
we're always open to it. Yeah.
Okay.
TJ? Sound okay?
Yeah.
He's got something kicking around?
Yeah,
Yeah, that, I mean, more informed is better.
Yeah.
That way we can differentiate between what we should be calling for versus
Mhm.
gophers,
yeah, right?
right?
Right.
Yeah, so if they see, aggressive deer, call this number. There's some direction setting right there.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay.
anything would be helpful.
Good. I know, I'm not comparing you to Okotoks. I just know what Okotoks program is.
Please don't comparison.
Yeah, I'm not. Don't, I live there, don't hold me against me. Anyways, they do have a pretty good program now.
Okay.
With their own signage and signage from us.
Okay,
I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
So if you're okay, I can move on to the next,
floor is still yours, my
Okay.
friend. Yeah,
do
absolutely.
you have the stats? Can't remember the policy minutes. One should say, F West calls for service.
Yes? Is that the one you want?
Yes, please. There we go. I don't think we can see that.
I can make it bigger.
Okay, well, I'll get into it. So since the January, okay, we've had only 60 calls for service in my district. And my district basically goes from chain lengths just north of Nanton all the way to Sabina, and then basically from Highway 23 to BC border. So for this calls for service, this is nuisance wildlife, injured wildlife, dangerous wildlife, not well, yes, I did leave predator claims in there, but not where deer get any stacks or things like that. So since the beginning, we've only had 60 calls, 13 of which percent have come from Diamond Valley. One was a nuisance, 2 were nuisance deer, 5 were the injured deer, and 1 was the turkeys. The nuisance deer was again, the caller had a breed feeder and wanted the deer removed out of her yard and wasn't willing to move the bird feeder. What are we all gonna do with that? I mean, you gotta move the bird feeder, deer feeder or the bird feeder, because the deer are just gonna keep on coming back. Sir?
Can I interrupt on that?
Mhm.
And I'm gonna ask you this question to
Sure.
see how you align with our community peace officers.
Sure.
Because we have a very clear regulation in our bylaw about the height of the deer feeder. Or the bird feeder, I mean. That's deer. Yeah, it becomes a deer feeder, yeah. That was very Freudian. But the bird feeder has to be at a certain height. So when you have this issue come and you see that, are you in cooperation with our CPOs so that they can enforce the bylaw?
I will do whatever within my legal authority, I'll do whatever you guys need. I don't know I did look on your website. I saw there was a fine. I knew there was a violation. I don't know the height.
It's pretty high.
It's
Is it?
pretty high.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty high.
Yeah.
I mean, it still doesn't, the feed still falls in the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry?
So 1,000 specified dollar offense for feeding wildlife.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's actually a par with other jurisdictions. The ones that I'm seeing that most issues are the ones that either put it under the deck. And the deer can walk up to it. I know the one in Okotoks, they go out when nobody else is around and throw handfuls of feed on the lawn. I mean, you can go there 1,000 times and they'll still do it, right?
Mhm.
So I will work with them. I can give my opinion, but because I'm not appointed under your municipal laws, I can't enforce it, but I can tell you what my opinion is. Okay, and that's what it is.
That's all I ask.
Oh, yeah, no.
That collaboration so that they can
Yeah,
enforce the
absolutely.
bylaw.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know I did the one with the bear last year. I did mention it. I don't know what happened to it. I'll just leave it at that. I don't know. I have no idea. We already talked about turkeys. The other nuisance deer. I think that other nuisance deer from a month or so ago, lady was walking her dog, deer approached. Best thing in those situations, there was no contact. There's no aggression from the deer. The deer just walked up. Just leave the area. And people just don't want to leave the area or walk around or go to the other side of the road or, I mean, we live in an area where there's lots of deer. And I'm not putting that on the town at all. It's education. And I'll get into that in a bit. Last year we had 305 district calls for service, 6% came out of Diamond Valley. The 5 bears are probably the same bear. We had 4 cougars, 2 cougars we removed. Injured deer, then I'm assuming you guys all heard about the Facebook post about somebody roping a deer. And that was fun. Took time out of our day. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about or
Is
not.
that berries?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay, okay.
Well, it was, I won't get into it, but
What?
it-
It was.
yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
berries.
So
It was April Fool's.
yeah, it's the one.
It was April Fool's, yeah.
That's the one. Well,
bear.
guess what? A couple officers spent their time doing.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
No, it's no.
yeah. Anyways.
We'll be able to-
I don't do that.
Don't do it.
So
Okay.
if you scroll up a little bit. Again, this is 2024. We had 3 cougar sightings, 88 injured deer. Now, when I say 8 injured deer or 9 injured deer, a lot of those are not deer that we respond to. If the deer's moving around and walking, like I said before, we're not. But if it's not moving, because it takes me 20 minutes, a half hour to get here if I'm close. And if deer's moving, just waste some time, right? I mean, if I'm around, I'll come. If the deer's is injured, they're not moving, it's very easy for us to come for the RCP or Sheriff Highway Patrol. 3 fawn calls, again, same thing, leave alone. And then the 1 deer with the jar on his head. Urban deer populations are not managed by the enforcement FS at all. I did get a hold of the biologist, come and talk to y'all today about deer populations. Nobody was available, but that is his email address. Okay, so you're more than welcome to reach out to them. I can give you some anecdotal information, but it's just anecdotal. I don't know if you have any questions regarding that.
Council? Anything bubbling? Mr. Holiday? Yeah, go ahead.
So that is one of the most frequently asked questions of council is, we have too many deer, why don't you kill them? And so you guys obviously you've got somebody else in charge of that, but what is your short answer on the response?
Sorry.
Yeah.
A short answer is there's hunting seasons. There's quite a liberal hunting season in the area. You're right on side, right beside 212, which has got multiple hunting seasons on it. We've got a disease, CWD, that I personally harvested deer east of Okotoks was positive. CWD is this is my opinion. Okay, CWD, which is chronic wasting disease, if people don't know, it's on its way. It's not here already.
Yeah.
And your deer population, I know anecdotally, just from what I read in the newspaper, Okotoks does their own town wildlife survey, whether it's scientifically accurate or not. I won't comment on that. All I know is they did say that the deer populations in Okotoks was lower this year than previous years. So.
Follow up, Cindy, okay?
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
a good answer.
Councilor Bain?
Dead animals, you mentioned earlier, and perhaps I missed part of the answer, but you mentioned that they're garbage. Who's responsible for removing? It is the town that's responsible for removing, okay, thank you.
Your worship, if we may, can I actually just have Craig clarify the differentiation between property?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Bing. Yeah, so when it comes to dead animals, not injured animals, the town will come and collect those animals and dispose of them. It's important to note, though, that the town will not enter private property to remove those deer. So it is upon the resident to pull that deer to the curb at the very minimum, and then we will remove it.
Thank you.
Councilor Bros was here, she'd have a story for you. This happened this week, just happened, yeah, like 2 weeks ago, it's happened to her, yeah. And they dragged it to the side and the town came and got it, quite promptly, I must admit.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah,
No, good.
yeah, well, we kept it in-house.
Yeah, so
As you said, it would, yeah, deer, right, it's garbage, so, yeah.
this came about as over the last year or so, we've had a need to address a policy of how to best deal with this. So as Craig said, it's always been a process, but it's being formalized in writing as we go through amalgamation, as we create Diamond Valley policies. this is one of the policies that came up that was important to recognize as an operating policy. We needed to put something in paper, how municipal enforcement's involved, how public works is involved. If it's Volker 7, because we have highways that run through town, they have a shared responsibility potentially. So it was a multi-joint kind of thing that we needed to outline and put on paper to solidify it. It's been in process for a year and a half, give or take. It's been working well. And I think Craig and his team do a great job getting out as quick as they can. In the absence of them, we have municipal enforcement. In the absence of them, it's a sit wait game. Again, if the wildlife enforcement branch is available, there's lots of different options. So it is a process that's come about that's been proven to be quite effective in dealing with those unfortunate calls.
Awesome, thanks. Glenn, back to you.
Okay, so again, just I'll touch on some more stuff here. It's pretty much, I think everybody knows this, but Diamond Valley, Okotoks, most North American cities have the exact same issue going on, which population is approaching on habitat, wildlife becoming habituated to the surroundings. Wildlife is a blessing and a curse. Some people love them, some people don't. So it's nothing out of the ordinary. Obviously, deer, for example, see coyotes or dogs as a coyote like a predator. They're going to act as such. If you've ever talked to me on the phone with a wildlife issue, I will always say or indicate long-term solutions. The long-term solutions being stopping whatever is attracting the wildlife. And we talked about feed. We talked about putting those higher. But if you talk about, let's say Canmore, for example, Longview had the same issue. Fruiting trees, bears coming in. They put in a bylaw, municipal law, I don't know exactly what it says, regarding fruiting trees. And it goes good for a while. And then just last year, I moved 3 bears out of Longview because somebody's got fruiting trees. So it never solves the problem, but it cleans it up to the point where it's at least manageable. I moved 3 out of there, a sow and 2 cubs, instead of, I think, 6 in 1 year. So it's something that I suspect you don't have the bear problems yet, but it's something that's probably going to be on the horizon as you grow and there's more fruiting trees within town. Let's see. You talked about hate. You didn't mention hazing, but people also talk about hazing deer out. The problem with hazing is there's inherent liability with hazing deer. Hazing, sorry, I'll define. Hazing is where you either push them out, use something like rubber bullets or some to that effect to move them out of the particular property, or particular area. We use that on roads when it comes to like G7. They used paintball, clay pellets to chase bears, elk off the roads. That is in an open area. You would not want to do that in a town because deer go through fences, they go into traffic, and the liability of somebody getting hurt is just too great. When we tranquilize or administer a drug into a deer, I won't get into it all, but there's sometimes we just can't do it. The public safety is not worth the risk. So, okay. Let's see. Good, so we talked about the attractants, we talked about the garbage collection, artificial habitat, we'll get into that real quick. Artificial habitat is where somebody has, and I will tell people most of the time that call me out for skunks, it's habitat. If you got food, they'll be there, but if there's no place for them to live, they're not going to be there. So decks, piles of wood, old piles of junk, that sort of stuff. That's not up to me. Whatever you guys decide to do with that. But I will give people advice about if you've got a deck, enclose the deck. If you've got a shed and the animals underneath of it, there's a way to skirt it, that sort of thing. I'm not here to catch skunks. And it's up to you how y'all want to manage that sort of stuff. Okay,
Cool. Yeah.
and one more, I think there is, what's the titles of the other emails?
I have the Black Bear Response Guide, the Deer Response Guide, and the Document 1.
Okay, go to document 1, and the reason I go to document 1 if you,
Sorry.
that's okay. I'm gonna share some stuff that's publicly available. Most people don't understand or don't realize publicly available.
I'm almost there.
You don't see it, but it's working.
Yeah, she just has to share it with the viewers online. She's sharing the screen.
So, sorry,
Do you need the guide open?
no, just scroll down a little bit. Just scroll the other way, sorry, up. Okay, so, that website, this is the Government of Alberta, publicly accessible website. Anybody can access this. You can see the ungulate, response guide. I've actually got a copy of the ungulate and I've got a black bear one that will show up. Can you bring up the ungulate for me, please? So that site, you can go online, you can see this, response guide. Oh, no, you won't be able to do it from this page. You'll have to go from my email, sorry.
Yep.
Okay, so this is what the ungulate response guide, looks like. This is available online. You can read it. So if you scroll down slowly, it'll give you the introduction, prevention, which your website does a very good job. Education it talks about, using the guide. Now keep on going down. Keep going, right, just a little bit higher. Now you'll see, any ungulate is further classified as these behaviors. Habituated, I dare to say that most deer within a town, I won't get into the definition, are habituated to living in town. Okay? Food definition, these are animals that know where the bird feeders are. They know where the fruiting trees are. They know all that, okay? Food condition. The problem is when you get a deer that has not only habituated and food condition, now it becomes a problem because it no longer has a fear of humans. I was dealing with a deer that fell into the offender category, which is the fifth one down, where I literally had to push the deer's head away, and it was still fighting to get past me to get to the dog. It was not afraid of me as a human being. I basically manhandled it to the point where I had to hit it with my hat, and we actually removed that deer at overdose. But it was turned into a fender where it started being a threat, meaning if I can handle it, what's going to do to somebody else? Okay. It was going after a dog. It had made contact. It was protecting its fawns, but still it moved into the offender. So that's how when we look at a deer, this takes out injured animals, but this is how we look at a deer that is and how it's acting. Offender deer is where we start to come into play, and stopping the feeding, stopping those habitualized actions is how we stop the deer from becoming offended. So if you scroll some more. Now this is a very generic response guide. Habituated food condition, calving. We do have options of relocating. I'll be honest with you, relocating a doe with fawns is not something that's ever successful or hard to be successful. Orphan calves, like we talked about, just having the person or the individual calling rehab centers, and then euthanizing. So we have a offending deer. These all have options of euthanasia. This is very generic. I can get into more specifics. We have an internal document that I can't share, unfortunately, but I can give you some more specifics on how we manage those type of animals. Oh, and then if you go to the bear one, it's basically the exact same thing. I won't go through it. So that is publicly available, and it gives a lot of room for interpretation as far as how we can manage our responses. Yeah, so it has basically the same thing. Food condition, depredation, that's where it kills cows and stuff, and an offending bear. Okay. But in our internal site, when it comes to an officer, we have specific guidelines on how to respond to animals. For example, ungulates. They're not aggressive, just sightings. We don't do anything, obviously. Damage to crops or store feed, we have a process for that. Injured, we talk about, injured, like dying, not moving, we talk about that. Disease, then it comes down to the concerns here and here are when they're attacking aggressive, defensive, or confined area. Angle that's causing damage, we talked about, that's where we consider it. The same thing with bears, we have the exact same thing, response guidelines for us. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Len. Final questions for Len before we send them? Thank you so much, but any last, yeah, Hazel.
Now we're seeing the turkeys, but we're also seeing the raccoons.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes do the raccoons come in because they can smell chickens?
Raccoons are opportunistic feeders. Okay, if there's a food source, whatever it is, they are opportunistic. They will come in and find whatever food source it is. The thing is with raccoons is they're not like a deer that can lay underneath the tree. They need a specific habitat to live in or retreat to spend, like today's cold. They need to find some sort of habitat, being some examples, pile of wood, an old shed, underneath the building. That type of habitat is gonna be where you're gonna find raccoons, skunks, fox, etc. Coyotes. That's,
Fruity trees,
pardon me?
fruity trees, like a crab apple tree.
They'll use those as food sources, but it's not where they would spend, or quasi hibernate or spend the winter or retreat to during the daylight hours to protect themselves. Okay, yeah, they den up, for lack of a better term. It's not necessarily den, but they den up.
Okay, council. Go ahead.
It's actually more for Craig, but it's on this topic. And you had mentioned about the bi-weekly garbage
Mhm.
being picked up. Have we had any reports? Okay, zero? There's
Zero.
been, okay. Because I know that was a fear of people, but we haven't had anybody complaining. Have you had anybody complaining about wildlife and garbage in our town? Okay,
Now,
with bears.
okay, so is that because people are throwing compost in the garbage? Or it'd be like, so what do you throw in the garbage that would attract a bear that would otherwise not go in the compost bin?
Garbage.
It's just straight garbage.
Anything that smells stinky,
Okay,
they do it. So in that time, I'm just looking at the dates here. So from about September, for about a month there, we had 5 bear calls, and it was basically bears in my garbage, bears in my garbage, bears in my garbage. And it was, we would set a trap and the bear never showed up to our trap, but it was in the garbage street over. And some of that was calls, but then I'd go and check the trap and the neighbor would come over and say, or they'd wave me down and say, hey, there's a bear in the garbage. So, or compost. So I mean, if you're gonna have compost out or garbage sitting for 2 weeks, you're gonna have bears. You're gonna have bears. So, and I mean, we can talk in other ways of trying to manage that. But yes, I can't tell you how to manage your town, but I know other jurisdictions have had the same issue and have tried to manage it.
that's it. Okay, thank you, Len. Thanks for taking the time and
Thank
coming
you.
out. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
Keep up the fight.
You as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay. Okay. 5.2, sale of municipal land. Matt.
Thank you, Mayor, Mr. Brendan.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. Come on
Good
up.
friend and neighbor.
Yes, yes, for now. No. I'm just
Does
kidding.
anybody think like a 7-inning stretch here for like 2 minutes or something? Just get up and move for a minute?
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna be
Okay.
here for a while yet, so we'll
Okay.
stretch after you guys go.
Okay, guys, you guys, and so thank you for your service. That's not just a catchphrase, you know? Okay, I'm gonna keep my presentation down to less than 15 minutes because that's what I was instructed to do.
That's right.
But I thought, as as neighbors, I thought I would introduce myself so that we might become good friends at the end of my presentation. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Matt Williams. This presentation will capsulize, put on the cheaters here. Many of the questions that were asked during the public question period. We asked Mayor and Council to reflect on these questions as they pertain to the municipal green space along 3rd Street and 6th Avenue. As we move forward with the discussion regarding the sale of the green space, I would like to share a little bit of my background and knowledge of land stewardship. I spent 42 years as a cattle rancher, 40 of those in ranch management. I've managed 2 of the largest cattle ranches in British Columbia and 1 of the largest cattle ranches in Alberta. I finished my career as a general manager of the WA Ranch for the University of Calgary, prior to retiring in Diamond Valley. During my 10 years as a ranch manager, I've worked closely with the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Forests, Federal Fisheries, the BC Cattlemen's Environmental Stewardship Committee, logging companies, oil companies, and 4 of the 7 First Nations in the Kamloops Merit area due to their overlapping Aboriginal title claims. While working with First Nations, I ensured that their Aboriginal title rights were included in our management plan, solidifying our mutual interests and building trust. Modern cattle ranching on the scale that I was involved in included large fee simple property and vast areas of crown bison grazing. In all cases, it was critical to work with stakeholders to ensure success in a complex ranching environment. I've had a lifetime as a successful land steward. My involvement in the development of sustainable land use plans attests to my expertise and understanding the value of green space preservation. I've also been the president of a community Rotary Club, which many of you know focuses on strong, healthy communities. We live by the 4-way test. It is a nonpartisan and non-sectarian ethical guide for Rotarians to use for their personal and professional relationships. It includes 4 questions when we make decisions. 1, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? We ask Mayor and Council to ask themselves these 4 questions as they move forward with the motion to sell the land on 3rd Street and 6th Avenue for development. So now let's get down to work. That's about me and my background. But now this is the reason we're here. This is where the rubber hits the road. We, the residents of Diamond Valley, have been made aware that it is the intent of the town of Diamond Valley to move forward with the sale of land that has recently been designated as municipal surplus land. This directly affects those individuals who live along and adjacent to 3rd Street and 6th Avenue. However, it also affects the community at large, as the property has been used for recreational purposes for decades, providing a well-supported community green space while having high value as environmental corridor for wildlife and for unofficial municipal park, protecting wildlife and ecological habitats. It is our understanding that there is an environmental reserve land adjacent to the property to be sold. This area is the treated hill below the hospital, which includes a defined water course and riparian area. The Municipal Government Act requires that land designated as an environmental reserve must remain in its natural state and that there is no less than a 30-meter setback excluded from land development. The Municipal Act states a designated environmental reserve is crucial for preserving ecological integrity in developing areas, ensuring that hazardous or high-value natural areas remain protected from permanent infrastructure. Our concern is the two parcels along Third Street and Sixth Avenue that are currently being proposed for sale and development. 2028 isn't very far away. As stated, these are being used for recreational land and provide a wildlife corridor and protecting habitat. As residents of Diamond Valley, who will be directly affected by the sale of these properties, we have been advised that we have no say. We were advised that by staff, that we have no say in the city's right to sell. We recognize that our only opportunity to provide input over the sale of this property would be during the town meeting to be held today. So here we are. We were told this by staff. That is why this is on the table tonight. Ted, Brandon, you both got our copy of our original. I told you at that time, we called staff to confirm that everything we put in there was correct. We did not get a call back. So we moved forward because we were told that time was of the essence. So, Brenda, with respect, what you said is not in keeping with our four-way test. So something is discombobulated here. And we would prefer or ask that you get to the bottom of us and get back to us. Because we are acting in good faith. First and foremost, and Ted, when I talked to you, you told me you were surprised that we didn't know about this.
Yeah.
Well, I canvassed community, nobody knew. So there's the challenge. By voicing our concerns over the potential loss of intercity recreational environmental important green space as the city moves in accordance to its plan to double the size up to 11,000 residents, we're asking the town of Diamond Valley Mayor and Council to look holistically beyond today to the future requirements of parks, recreation, ecology, wildlife, and larger community. We ask them to reflect on the following statements made by both mayor and council in the 2025-2026 Diamond Valley Development Plan. This plan isn't just about policies and maps. It's about people. It reflects the voices, ideas, and hard work of residents, businesses, and stakeholders who all care deeply about our town. It's a guide to how we grow responsibly, ensuring that we remain a vibrant, welcoming place for generations to come. As Diamond Valley evolves, this plan will help balance growth and sustainability, preserve what makes our town special while making room for new opportunities. We also ask the mayor and council to reflect on the marks of the Diamond Valley Planning and Development Department. The Planning and Development Department is responsible for all aspects of land use planning, including long-range planning, subdivisions to ensure that growth and development occur in a rational manner while maintaining or enhancing our quality of life. Planning and development is here to understand the values of the community and reflect those values into our plans, policies, and bylaws for immediate and future development of our town. It is our expectations that such statements hold true and guide both the process and the direction the mayor and council choose to take when making decisions that affect the residents of Diamond Valley. Research supports the need to save and increase green space in small towns. It is imperative that small towns protect green spaces, focusing on air quality, wildlife species, habitats as climates change. In other words, we all need to do our part to save our green spaces as we reduce carbon by building and heating our homes and commuting to work each day. This is a commuter town. This way, we all contribute to the carbon sink locally, which is needed to combat climate change in an ever-increasing urban landscape. As noted by Jennifer Acton in the Genius of Birds, a recent report from Audubon tells us that half the bird species in North America are likely to go extinct in the next half century. For one reason, because they can't adapt to the rapid pace of human-induced change. Over the past week, we have circulated a petition. It was initially to provide a voice for those of us who are directly affected by the sale of this property. It grew to include residents throughout Diamond Valley. The petition had 90 signatures. These citizens who signed did so with the goal of 1, informing the Diamond Valley Mayor and Council that the citizens are not supportive of the town's decision to move forward with the sale and development of municipal green space along 3rd Street and 6th Avenue. 2, requesting that the municipal green space in question be dedicated to the citizens of Diamond Valley as an official municipal park. 3, requesting that the environmental reserve adjacent to the green space remain intact in its natural state with regulated setback of no less than 30 meters from the development should it occur. We think that's at least more than fair and neighborly. In conclusion, these wildlife and ecological values are of high importance for any small community. However, the recreational values cannot be understated. The green space is fully intact and provides all that is necessary to support these intrinsic values. We must seize this opportunity so we can strive to be a model community for holistic stewardship. It's not always about dollars and cents. I was a cattle rancher. I know. I went through BSC. I know what being broke is all about. And yet here I am. Diamond Valley Mayor and Council can do this while protecting highly valued recreational space for its citizens, enhancing quality of life for generations to come. We ask Council to reconsider any plans you have to sell the land along 3rd Street and 6th Avenue. By doing so, you will fulfill your obligations as stated in the 25-26 Planning and Development Plan. And this will be your lasting legacy for our town. Thank you. I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thanks, Scott. Well said. Council, anything burning, anything that you want to address with Matt? Seeing as we're going to be talking about this, well, we're going to be talking about a portion of it, well, not even relating to this, so to speak. Deputy Mayor,
Yeah, I want to thank so much for the work you put together and all the residents, the questions you brought forward. Fully understand and comprehend your concerns. On behalf of administration, I apologize for the miscommunication that you received. This is not before us, as Mayor Kelly really stressed very clearly that this parcel of property, we're not making a decision on that tonight. What you have before us is something that I really want to hear when and if this parcel of land comes forward. Because as you've gone through the process and as Mayor Kelly reiterated, there's a well-defined process. And I do want to counter the fact that where you say that residents have no say, I want to counter that and say you actually do.
Well,
because they may have told you that, but you do have say.
Well,
and the process allows for the say when and if it goes through the process, because it has to be redesignated. As you stated, it's municipal reserve right now. So if we ever wanted to sell that land, we had to rezone it. So that demands a public hearing. So the process for that is, and I just want you to be fully aware, is council would give first reading, and then we would direct administration to hold a public hearing, and that's where residents have their voice. And we need to hear that. And this, what you've stated so very clearly and succinctly, I want to hear that at that public hearing should we get there. That's the voice that we need. And that's the voice that I lean on as a counselor. I've been here for 9 years in this chair. I want residents to come forward with that concern because it does allow us then to make forward decisions that are based on what residents have said. The Municipal Government Act very clearly states that our responsibilities around this table as counselors, we have to be amenable to persuasion. And we've not made up one iota of a decision regarding this parcel because the process hasn't started yet. So what started this process, just so that you're aware, is that a local association, a nonprofit association, came to us 6 months ago, give or take, last fall, I believe it was, and asked if they could purchase that land. And so a motion was made by council to direct administration to see which lands, not just this property, but which lands could potentially be divested to support our need for infrastructure reserves. So that's where the process started. There's no decision made whatsoever. So I strongly want to counter what information you received. You do have say. And what you've just given us is when we need to hear that is at that public hearing, should that happen, to switch from municipal reserve to whichever zone we want to have. So for instance, this zone here, this was in R1. We rezoned it to an R3. We had a public hearing. Residents from across the street came at that public hearing. We took their concerns into account. We were amenable to persuasion. There was no evidence to persuade us otherwise, and we moved forward with that. And that's what's up for discussion tonight is this parcel of land. So I really, on behalf of council administration, we apologize for the miscommunication, the error that you were given in residents. It's very unfortunate because you're gonna have to repeat this in 2 years. I know, exactly.
I think well, you probably do have an idea.
I do.
We were told that the 11th hour.
That's unfortunate
that
because.
We had so much,
Yeah.
it was a series of hoops we had to jump through.
To get here.
And this was a very unpleasant experience.
I understand.
So what I can tell you is this. Everything I said tonight passed the four-way test. Every single word I said tonight passed the four-way test. Every single word. So I'm telling you, we are acting in good faith here. If I had known that we didn't have to do all this work and canvass the neighborhood and get support from the citizens and do this and sit through this, do you think I would have done it?
Not at all. I wouldn't have done it.
Not a chance.
The only thing that I can think of, Matt, is.
My presentation passed the four-way test.
Yeah.
It was the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yeah. I appreciate that. The only thing I can think that the miscommunication, I'm not defending anybody here. I'm not taking anybody's side. The only deadline that would have been relevant was bringing forward a question. Because we have that deadline at 12 o'clock on the day for written submissions to be given for that council meeting. How that, like, I'm not saying that that's what it is. That's the only deadline I have in my mind. And the delegation.
So were you guys surprised that all of these questions came in about
Yes,
this
sir.
particular parcel? Like, you're
Stunned, 100%.
what is this? Like,
Stunned.
Yeah, stunned.
I got 6 of them this afternoon and I came in half an hour early to brief with our CAO.
Yeah, thanks, your worship, but clearly there's been a big communication failure here
Yeah.
from administration. So perhaps offline, since you're neighbors with the speaker, perhaps you had more information for me on how that miscommunication happened so I can deal with it.
Yeah, that's for you.
Yeah, sure. We can chat more.
One other thing, if I may.
What Adam is suggesting is you and I have a conversation
I
about.
think that would probably be timely.
Yeah, well, and to that point is, I'll get
That would
to
be
it.
good.
To that point is, I, when I received Matt's letter a couple of days after, I went over and spoke to him. But I was unaware of the direction that he was given. And so what he was telling me, I was like, okay, like I supported what was happening from his side of things because I didn't know anything different from our side of things. And so to Robert, I believe. Robert, yeah, to your point, it wasn't, we weren't trying to ignore anything. It was the magnitude at which the speed of everything kind of unfolded. And when I was speaking with Adam, he's like, well, this is 2028. I'm like, well, something is amiss here. Like, cause I'm missing some piece of information because I'm hearing something from Matt but I'm hearing something from administration. So it's not that I was trying to be absent about everyone being here, so I am grateful that everyone's here tonight. But there was clearly a gap somewhere that something didn't align properly.
The anxiety level was raised extremely high.
I saw you guys out every day.
And, and I preface my comments by saying, we're neighbor, let's hope we can be friends.
We're still friends.
You know, so, yeah.
Yeah, none of this, none of it.
No, I mean, well, you, Brad, of course we're friends. You know, but council, this was spearheaded, obviously, and maybe there was no ill intent, and possibly we misunderstood, because the air is human. But I can tell you, what we thought we heard, we acted upon as quickly as we could.
Yeah.
And we did it in good faith, and it passed the four-way test as we understand it.
Yeah.
And that is what is important, is integrity and making sure that the residents of this community are treated with respect, that they're not just taxpayers.
No.
They actually are residents of this town, and it's their town.
Yep.
You guys represent, we're your constituents.
We work for you.
Yeah, we're your constituents.
Yeah.
We would like to see a good exchange of information back and forth so that you can make timely decisions for the benefit of the community as a whole.
Yeah.
But you also need to take in consideration some things that are definitely worth fighting for. And that particular piece of green space, that park that has been used that way forever, needs to stay, because it's critically important to this town as it grows. Some things just shouldn't be for sale. Some things should not be low-hanging fruit. That's how I feel about it. And that's how the 90 people that I talked, and many, many more. And I could have got a lot more signatures, but I didn't have enough time. So, that is the gospel truth.
Yeah.
There's no baloney here.
Yeah, your intent is well founded.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
100%.
And this will, regardless of what direction we end up at, whether it be 2 years or more than that, it won't be lost on me, Matt. Like it wouldn't be.
I'll tell you, Brandon, you've got 17 properties in retail properties in the city, and we're linked to number 4, and
Yeah.
it's
The rest of the-
2028. So, yeah, it's dang scary. Dang scary.
Well, we will continue to communicate, and I can tell you one thing, as Kyle looks at me from the back. Had I known with more precision and clarity that this was gonna be upon us, like this summer, I would have went and told Kyle, as a good neighbor, not even just as a mayor. If I had known this information, I would have went and said, I know you just bought that property, because this happened to us when we bought our property across the across.
Nobody wants to take $100,000 hit on their housing values.
And that will be discussed as we move forward, but I just want people to know.
To take $100,000 and we certainly don't.
So I did have a couple of points.
Sure.
Just to,
Okay, I'm gonna start with John.
okay,
So let's
sorry.
stay on track. Go ahead.
Yeah, just staying on track here. Just to wrap this up, couple of points in the questions that were asked. There was a comment made about, or in the question, about waiving developer fees. And I can assure you that that is not even on the radar. We had, in fact, in the last 2 years, have really focused on our developer fees. We've increased them substantially because we want our developers to foot the bill and not the taxpayers that live here.
Appreciate that.
So that is something that we've announced. That is something we're making very clear. So I did want to correct that. Because that has been a misnomer in the town for as long as I've lived here, that there's backroom deals going on with developers, and no, we stopped to that.
Probably because there was a couple in the past.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not gonna speak to that. We, I wish we could, rewriting history would be awesome, but we can't be doing that. And what I also wanted to indicate one other element here that is really important, and you reiterated a few times here about the environmental reserve and making sure that that stays there. That is one area that we're very strict on. is the environmental reserve. It's got very highly regulated pieces.
To hear.
And
That is that is amazing to hear that. That is amazing. And now it's on the public record.
It is.
So
it is,
we love it.
it is absolutely. So,
Okay, I bounced.
but on that note, I want to thank so much for your presentation and I hope to see you when we have a public hearing. If we do, you've done all the work, right? So, thank you.
Ted,
I apologize if there was some confusion in our conversation when I said that I was surprised that you were not aware. I was aware, and it was brought forward in council, that someone had approached council and wanted to buy the property, and we said no. And it was also, I believe, in council that this property was under consideration as being surplus, but no decision had been made.
Well, that,
So
you know, that
those-
really helps clarify things, Ted.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. You know, when we, just to give some background, when we built our home there, we built our home specifically because of the location and the green space and the environmental setbacks. We knew that property had been set aside potentially for a school. No harm, no foul. We bought and built under that premise. Then we heard that a local church in the community decided would be interested in that property.
Yeah.
Again, no harm, no foul. We could support something like that. But to put in a residential development, high density, or the potential for high density, looking at Cochrane or what's happening in Okoto, big problem. You know, just get that right up there. There are some developments that are acceptable in the community. There are other developments that are not. And you know what? We are entitled, and thank you, gentlemen, for making it clear that we'll have a voice at the public meeting. But that particular piece, today we're talking about a municipal park and the importance of that for generations to come, so that our children, our grandchildren, and their grandchildren, should they decide to live in Diamond Valley, have a park. And I think somebody said something about soccer fields. I think great idea. Right on. I think, what city wouldn't want that? You know, honestly, and a developer, not in their wildest imagination, will ever put that back. If we lose that, we lose it forever. And that's one of the few places that's flat and can provide recreational opportunity for children and all kinds of people at no cost. It's there, it's intact, it's beautiful, it's magnificent. Wow. Like, no brainer. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you so much, Matt. Cindy, do you have a comment that you want to make before we wrap this up?
Did Cindy have something?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
Yeah,
sorry,
it's
sorry.
unfortunate.
I'm hard of hearing, so.
Well, this is more general, maybe not directed specifically for you. It is unfortunate that we as council have to ask for lots of information and lots of things get put into our agenda. That doesn't mean that they necessarily are agreed upon by council. We have 7 unique individuals, all with very strong opinions, if you ever listen to our meetings. And so the amount of conversation that would happen before anything like this happened would be great, for sure. But it is our job to look at all the options and to look at all the surplus properties. So I am sorry for any fear that put on you guys.
You know, you're helping me and us, all of us, get a good education in civics. I didn't really pay attention in grade 9.
Yeah, so
I'm paying attention now, you know.
The
So,
motion-
you know.
the motions that council make are the most important. What's in the agenda package is information. The motions that we make are where the work happens and where the direction of council actually happens. Just because we've asked for information doesn't mean we're necessarily going a certain direction or not. There is a feeling in town, I know, that there's a rush to grow, and that's spurred on by all these council conversations that we have. And we, as councillors, don't have a feeling that there's a rush to grow. We have a rush to get the planning documents in place and the rules and the policies in place, so that when developers do want to come in and they do want to grow the town through developing their properties, that we have our ducks in a row. So there's no push from council. We don't own property that's being developed other than these few, this one in particular that we have agreed upon. But generally, it's up to development at the speed of growth. But it is our job to make sure the policies are in place and that all the information's had. So as you see, you know, we've had our MDP. We're working really hard to get our land use bylaw next. It's not because we individually as councillors care to grow, it's because we want, if it happens, it to be done correctly. So there's lots of discussion about planning by us, but not because of any desire on us.
Those kind.
But I can tell you, and I appreciate those comments, I really do, you know, it's, yeah, I preface my comments by saying that we appreciate the hard work the council does on our behalf. But we feel Diamond Valley is a very, very special place within the Calgary bubble. And growth needs to be fought in order to sustain the lifestyle that we have in this community. And it's not just coming from me and my neighbors here, it's coming from all across the community. Every single person that signed that petition was totally opposed to this sale, potential sale, and almost, I would say 85% would support the town staying small.
Yeah.
And meeting its financial obligations by staying small. And I think and I understand that that is the challenge. Calgary is, wow, it's just gets bigger and broader and more intense every day. Okotoks, Cochrane, all of those things. And we as citizens and residents of that community, of this community, are scared to death of this. We are scared that we're going to become a smaller version of Okotoks or a smaller version of Cochrane. And we don't want to be like that. We moved to Black Diamond for a reason. And in my particular case, in my wife's particular case, we built our home in that particular spot because of those values. And we want to fight hard to keep them. We really think this is important. And yeah, so we'll be in touch as things go on. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben. And thank you everyone that showed up tonight. It's meaningful for us, and Matt will come knock on your door sometime this week. And I'll get those details. Okay, why don't we take 5 minutes and we can just, we'll let people go out into the snow if they want to. And if anyone wants to catch anyone's ear for 30 seconds or a minute, but we'll take a recess at 8:03. We'll come back at 8:10. Let's call the meeting back to order at 8:16. Thank you for those people that are online for your patience and yeah, just happy to connect with our residents very quickly after a bit of angst, if you will. And I think everybody for the most part left with far more answers than they had when they came in. So a good lesson for council and a better lesson in some respects for our residents. And we hear you and we want to hear you. And then there's an opportunity for that. And even though tonight wasn't necessarily a public hearing, I feel that we got the point.
It was very much like that.
It was definitely time-wise a public hearing, which is fine. Residents have the right to come in and ask their questions. And it's okay in my eyes to, for the right reasons to go over a 15-minute time limit. If we can help settle some of those nerves for our residents. So with that being said, let's move on and let's get to the real motion setting policy stuff that's Councillor Holiday alluded to. And just before we jump into the real heavy stuff, 7.1, Chris, our car guy, I went to one of their regular meetings a couple of weeks ago, and he had mentioned that they wanted to come in and say hi, but given the size of agendas and potentially evenings like tonight, he said, we know that council continues to support us. It's volunteer driven, it's passion driven from these guys and the girls. And it was really cool to sit in on one of their meetings and kind of see how they operate. And with that being said, and I'll let council pick their colors, but lucky for you guys, because Ashley and Colin aren't here, and because he gave me 4 shirts here. Well, he gave me 5. I took one already. But I was like, can I get one right now, Chris? He's like, yeah, go ahead. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna take the blue one. So I'll let Cindy and Hazel pick a color, green one. And if you want to just hold it up quick, which one do you want, Hazel?
I'll take the gray.
The gray one? Maybe just hold it up there for our residents. They're pretty cool.
Flashy this.
Airborne.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Airborne.
So a big thanks to Chris, to the volunteers.
Very nice.
Yeah, they were like, that is good print. I know just sitting through that meeting with them, a lot of these participants of the car show are local business owners, and they contribute a lot of their own resources and their own time to making this a big success for our community. And the rain certainly put a damper on things last year, but they had projected to see over 300 cars last year. I think the number was about 302, and the rain really put a damper on that. But they are not intimidated, and the event was still in Chris's eyes a big success. They still have a little bit of a slush fund that would carry them through years like that, and they hope with more successful continued events that slush fund will grow, so that if they do have other issues, that they're able to overcome those. A big thanks to TJ and municipal enforcement and anybody else that was involved from the town side for whether it was blockades or any of the things that the town did for them. Extremely, extremely thankful. So I'll leave it at that. And if you have an opportunity this summer to peruse, to walk through, there's quite a variety of cars there. I'll leave you on this note. They had a very heated discussion about allowing electric cars into this car show. And I was kind of taken aback by that, right? And some of the guys, and I won't use age as a marker, but very disgruntled that this would even come up at one of their meetings, because it was an absolute no. No, we're not having any electric cars. Some of the younger guys were like, well, we could, no. If there's no if there's no battery in there and they convert it to a gas vehicle, it can come. So a Tesla, for example, with a 6 valve or
internal combustion engine.
Yes, they said, yeah, they can come, because there's a lot of conversion company, or there's a big major conversion company in Calgary that actually does that. So he said those guys can come. Anyways, I was surprised that was a big topic of their agenda, but it was pretty heated, and I was excited to be there for that. So anyways, thank you, Chris, and everybody else that participates and makes that a big success for our town. It goes without saying, you bring a lot of business and a lot of sponsorship to what we're doing here. So thank you. Okay, so I'll move on. 7.2 CAO. I've done enough talking tonight.
Thank you, worship. That's a good segue too. I think given just the extensive introduction and discussion we've had tonight on the multi-phase plan and looking at phase 4, let's just bring it right back to the RFD, which is phase 2, which is the immediate sale of this parcel of land that we're sitting on tonight. So in the report in the RFD, you have the details going back to council resolutions in 2024 and the direction coming out of that. We've justified why we advise removing those conditions and actually selling this place at fair market value. So with that, there's a couple of recommendations in front of council, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. It kind of lends a hand to what Matt said. It's like 2 years isn't that long, and you think about the amount of work that administration's been putting into some of these files. These are extensive. I think at initial glance, council had kind of hoped that this would be done last summer, but MDP and now land use bylaws, and we kind of get pulled in multiple directions. And so it's great to see it in front of us. I'll open the floor to council with your questions. Everything is laid out. Apologies to anyone that's online that we're not going to really dive too deep into this because this file is quite extensive and there's no point in kind of rehashing what's in front of us. So if you have any interest on this property, we went through the proper channels, and we're kind of at the finish line, if you will, for this product here. So big thanks to administration for seeing this through. And if council doesn't have any questions, let's just roll to the motions, and just put your hand up. Councilor Martin.
So we're just gonna talk about this property right now.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
No, I'm fine with it. I can give you the first motion.
Please do. Yeah. We'll take it.
have a question first.
I did have questions on this actually.
Okay, well, okay, let's start with you.
And I just want some clarification. So we have this in R3. Does that permit somebody from buying it and using it as a commercial property? Because we've got the big garages out back, that sort of thing. And what in that, I know under R3, it doesn't list that as a use, so I'm assuming it's a no, that they couldn't come in and get commercial. But it does allow, discretion as duplexes or, fourplexes. How do we ensure that when we're selling it, we're hoping for more density here? How do we ensure that that actually happens versus somebody coming in and saying they want a great duplex with their family member? Because the market value is actually lower than I expected, that somebody could actually buy it as a recreational type property, right? In town. People like me that like to live, in town, that still have land, right? That's, how do we protect against that? Because our goal is, it's a great place to get increased property tax revenue. Charge more for land. It's the market value. It's based on the market value.
Thank you, Councillor Holiday, through the mayor. So in the municipal development plan, this is a potential residential infill area. Council did vote to amend the draft, and so the requirement for this parcel would be a minimum 15 units per hectare under the MDP. And it can only be used for a listed use in the district. If it's a permitted use and it meets the requirements, it's an automatic yes, as we keep hearing from the government of Alberta. Use their phrasing. If it is discretionary, then we look for things more of context, character, meeting requirements of any ASP, MDP, IDP.
So someone automatically couldn't just move in as a house either. Because
yeah, single detached dwellings are not a listed use in the district, so that would be a prohibited use.
all right, so that's going to be clearly advertised to somebody that it's the density and all that. Okay. My only other follow-up is what the non-assignment clause that you mentioned elsewhere in the report. Is that something we should
Any,
consider?
yeah, so any additional condition that council adds to the sale could potentially impact the value, the speed of the sale, or the ability to gain financing and move forward with a project. I'm not a realtor nor am I a lawyer. These are just things that I've heard from people in the industry.
Thanks, George. Maybe just add on that too. So, yes, someone could purchase this to land bank. But I suppose that's the trade-off we're providing here, is to say fair market value is fair market value. If council wants to put conditions back on, you certainly could, but we don't have a good experience of that.
No, that settles my question.
Satisfied? Perfect. Fire us off, Councillor Martin.
That council rescind resolution 24.06.05.07.
Thank you. Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, and if I could just speak to that, and I'm in favor of rescinding this, but that resolution that we put in place some time ago has a buyback clause that has, in our experience, kind of restricted the developer to do what they'd like to do because of over time, the value of the property increases. But any investors look at that and say, well, the buyback says this, and so that's all we're going to invest in. So I fully support this. I know the reason we had this clause in place for those listening online was because, as CEO Davey mentioned, we've been having some land bankers purchase property in the past from the town and not move forward with development, and it's really hindered our community. But it's too restrictive in its design, and the outcome is not what we hoped. So I support the rescinding of this motion of this clause.
Great. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Okay, Councillor Holiday.
Yeah. The council direct administration to proceed with the sale of lots 4 to 5, Block B, Plan 805 4EK at fair market value and in accordance with the town's policy, Council 019, sale of municipal land using the real estate or land broker method of sale.
Perfect. Okay. No comments, no questions?
I probably should have asked this really quickly, sorry, mate. With the way that we're gonna sell it, will there also be, because of the size, we could do that comprehensive residential dwelling area for this same land? Is that correct?
Yes, so a comprehensive design can be applied to any site, really. It lends itself better to multis. What we can't do is contemplate any use that is not a listed use in the district.
Right. And R3 would be a listed use.
So
correct?
R3 is the district.
Yeah.
And so we can contemplate any kind of combination of this point of apartments, attached housing, fourplexes, semi-detached, triplexes, or seniors lodging house.
Perfect. Thank you.
I did have one more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do we know exactly when this trailer is hitting the market? Do we have a date on that?
Thanks, your worship. So, should we say June? Is it correct? It's conditional, so essentially, once we have a good amount of confidence in the new chambers, this will be listed, and this will be via sale through ATCO. If anyone's interested, and that'll be posted on the site, but we're likely looking June for a pickup date no later than September. So the intent is council will likely have your August meeting in here, and then September 2nd will be in the new one. So we'll have a bit more details to come on that. We're likely looking June time.
So it's sold through ATCO, but it'll be on our website.
The link will be on there.
The link will be on there. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, motion on the floor? Yeah? Yeah, okay, all in favor?
Yeah.
Carried unanimously once more.
Can I just ask one question?
You certainly can.
Do you not usually go through government surplus?
That's correct. Yeah, Gov Deals or ATCO. In this case, it's an ATCO trailer. They're likely to.
So you think
That's
a
right.
better
Oh,
place
yeah.
to get more market? are at better value.
That's our understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
Okay, let's move on. Water allocation policy procurement. Was this started by Councillor Holiday? It certainly was, yes. And here it is.
Well, no.
No,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's not-
There's the procurement component of what you asked for, yes.
Yes.
With this being your recommendation or suggestion, Cindy, do you care to speak to it or to just fire us off a
Yeah.
question?
I want this done
Yeah.
and I am happy our MRF, I'm sure will do as good a job as anyone and the price came in under budget, so
Perfect.
I'll give
Wait.
you option one, that council directs administration to proceed with entering into a contract with RMRF for provision of professional services to produce a water allocation policy and procedure.
Awesome. Okay. Questions, comments?
Yeah. Sorry.
It's great.
It's a great idea and it's a great need that we have. I think the challenge might be in how we really set it up. I mean, it's pretty intricate.
Mm.
And the Okotoks team gave us great advice on that. So I don't want to get our hopes up too high because of the intricacies involved and how we actually can enforce it moving forward. I think that's going to be the challenge.
Thanks, your worship, and excellent point. So the policy is really going to be the start of the conversation, where the rubber is going to hit the road is in the implementation phase, and that's going to be a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But this is certainly step one.
Yeah, great. Good point. And yeah, it lends a hand to exactly some of the tensions that our residents were just sharing. We talk about planning a lot.
Yeah.
And they think growth.
And that's why I mentioned that.
Right?
It's like,
Well, that's exactly it, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to draw those parallels. That just because we're having the conversation doesn't mean that something's gonna happen because of it.
Yeah.
But we certainly need to start somewhere
100%.
before we can have the conversation, and
100%.
knowledge is power here. So Cindy wraps up.
Yeah, so I'm expecting like this is a policy that there will be an engineering component to it that comes phase two. I won't have to make a new motion for that part, like,
Your worship, let's get some clarity there from.
Yeah, so thank you, Councilor Holiday. In my discussion with the lawyer from RMRF, her desire would be to have a meeting with council to get a better understanding of scope and direction. I have indicated that we do have our infrastructure master plan coming online in the fall. Her indication would be that that would be fantastic to have in play. Having the growth mapping in the MDP is also great to have in play. So it'll be a bit of a scoping exercise. If you agree to that meeting in terms of, and I don't want to be flippant about this, but more of like a quick and done or like a holistic, more intensive, time consuming. And it really depends on what the end goals are of council. And again, what can actually be implemented from a planning perspective and then enforced if we were ever challenged.
Yeah, great.
I should just add to your worship, so with this meeting, scoping exercise, of course. Price point change orders, so it's something to keep in mind too for timelines, so obviously as we get more complex. Lengthier, then the costs just go up. And so whenever you're dealing with legal and engineering, you're probably looking at that $300 to $500 an hour.
Yeah,
So
it is.
Yeah, and well noted, CEO Davey. I think the benefit to the quote is that there's still room there that we've already budgeted for. So I think that flexibility is something that, not speaking for council, but something that we'd probably be agreeable to, given that there's a little bit of wiggle room in there.
yeah, we, and administration hopes to with this, sort of scoping exercise too, it'll be a pretty good benefit too. And it'll also, like I said, this is probably the start of an ongoing conversation. So this is definitely the right step.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was just thinking while Carrie was talking there, it's like having the IMP, having the MDP. I think that we're gonna look back in a couple of years at the council and say, wow, isn't it great that we have these documents now that are actually guiding the conversation? Because I have not lived in a world as either a mayor or a councillor in either of my last two terms where we could rely on these documents to help support the decisions that we were making. So this is, I think that we're gonna see a lot of maturity in the decisions that we're making.
Yeah.
Because these documents exist for us.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, it's there, and so again, like, you know, like Carrie said, like, do you want to do it quick, or do you want to, you know, do you want to do a little bit longer? You know, well, having more information is that we're better off for it, so, yeah, can't rush a good thing, so, okay, you gave us that motion?
Yep.
Yeah, all in favor? Bingo. Are the other two required?
No.
No, I was just looking at I just wonder, my mind is,
It just,
we don't need two or three.
there's options, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Council's
I just wanted to make sure before I moved on quickly. I remembered. Okay, we're on candidate fireworks. Good thing we don't have everyone here for this one, no. Fireworks. Just kidding. I'm
I'm
kidding.
here and I like fireworks.
I love
Make that
fireworks too.
motion. Let's get
We'll
it.
make the motion. Good. So for context too, CAO Davey and I have spoken about this, and ultimately, I think long-term direction setting would be to partner with our local organizations to help overtake this, right?
Yeah.
One thing worth noting is, you know, I mentioned this to Adam last week, is like, I don't want to appear like it's just cut, and when does it stop,
Yeah.
right? Because, you know, this is something that is achievable, and it's not, like, the cost is not overbearing. And hopefully, you know, as we continue to foster relationships with our local organization, like the campground here and the Lions Club, all those other little pieces that we're trying to put together and lean on one another. This just is one of the ones that I was like, for this money, it's like, shoot them off.
I do want to say though, I don't expect that we need the event and all of that extra stuff. It's just like if local businesses want to run things, get together with people, family, it's just we do the fireworks.
Yeah, we just announced fireworks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Taxpayer dollar going at the smoke.
It's like the $10,000.
Yeah.
Well,
But we should look for corporate, advertise for a corporate sponsor someday when we get around to it.
We need a corporate sponsor on this.
well, and again, hopefully, you know, we just have to get those relationships.
We don't have staff to go after the corporate sponsor.
If I may, to your worship, you know, kind of the thought here too is if council approves this, so it's just a basic fireworks package. Perhaps other groups in the community will want to augment it for future years. Sometimes they got to experience it to have that.
So there's any conversation with that and $5,000 into it?
Maybe the
15,000?
15 minutes of fireworks instead of 10?
Make the finale phenomenal.
Hazel.
Would we have time to explore local partnership? I know we're at almost like the 11th
Yeah,
hour.
if it challenges your worship, it's, you know, like how much time do you want to invest in it, right? So the mayor and I did meet with, met with the Lions, obviously on the campground, the rink, the parade and all of this. And we got, you know, we agreed to now Lions have taken over the campground and the rink. So that was sort of the start of the conversation. But for now, no, that I don't even have a staff that I could assign to that task.
Okay. And
Yeah.
there's no grant money?
For that kind of stuff.
No, like, not like the
The
$1,500.
government's not like us. They burn more. No kidding.
Well, and just that point, like when I was talking to Adam, the town that I lived in is called Osgood. It was outside Ottawa. We were actually amalgamated into the city of Ottawa, and because of that, our little town stopped doing fireworks. And for a couple of years, we had no fireworks. When we used to have like a good 20-minute show, we'd have to go all the way to Ottawa, and we started to locally fundraise. And then we
Yeah.
brought the fireworks back.
Exactly.
You go door to door, $10, $20, and you fill a pot up. You'd have a little gala where you'd sell
Businesses, yeah.
overpriced tickets and you cover your dry chicken and stuff, and then the money would go back into the fireworks. And that's what the residents wanted. They didn't want to drive an hour into Ottawa to go watch fireworks, right?
Exactly.
Like, we could say no to this and everyone could go to Okotoks. Right? And that's kind of the equivalent of my experience in it. So, you know, we look for partnerships. This is a good middle ground for us. We're being responsible fiscally as much as we can be, and we move forward. Yes.
How about underneath all our advertisements for the event, say, do you want to be a corporate sponsor for next year's event? Contact the town.
There you go.
Just throw it on there,
We can certainly do that.
like, just
Yeah.
add a line.
Yeah.
Okay, Ted wanted to give us this one.
The council direct administration to proceed with the 2026 Canada Day fireworks, moving the $10,000 allocated to the pool reserve to cover the expense. And to speak to the motion, I won't add anything to what's already been said. Won't waste anybody's time repeating stuff.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
Excellent, done. Support for advocacy request.
Yeah.
Is that the one I have here? No, is this one? What is this?
For the police officers.
No, it's yours. Sorry, I have another form here, but it's for the next item.
perfect.
Okay. That's all you.
I couldn't support this with any more vigor, to be honest with you. So we really want to make sure that we are moving forward with this and take the options here that council authorize our mayor to sign the attached letter to the Honorable Joseph Scholl, Minister of Jobs, Economy, Trade and Immigration, in support of extending presumptive workers' compensation coverage for psychological injuries to community peace officers, and that copies be forwarded RJ Sigurdsson, MLA for Highwood, and identified stakeholder organizations. And the reason we need to be this explicit is because our community peace officers are not actually included within the current process of making sure that this PTSD treatment is available to them. A bit of gap, I guess, in the legislation, I suppose, where they call it peace officers, but our CPOs don't fall under that. So we want to make sure this gets on the radar and gets so that they have that support at hand. I know even in our own community in the past, we've had some tragic events happen with our CPOs, and they had needed that mental health support. And I'm a big advocate of mental health support, especially with our first responders. And so how we can support them. Council, let's get this done.
Awesome. Well said. No comments? Comments or voting?
Comment.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm fully aware of the effects of PTSD. I've seen it in some of my soldiers and people that I know, and I could not be more supportive of this motion.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks, Ted.
Yeah.
All in favor?
That's
carried unanimously. Okay, we got two more guys. 2026 Volunteer Week, Memorial Proclamation. Let's do this. Stand up for this. 2026 Volunteer Appreciation Week Proclamation. Do we have to make a motion on this?
No.
Yes, we do.
We do.
Yeah, we do have to,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll give you the motion. The
Yeah.
council will proclaim April 19th to 25th, 2026 as Volunteer Week in Diamond Valley.
Read the agenda, I swear. Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes, okay, here we go. Volunteer Canada promotes the recognition and appreciation of volunteers across the country each year through National Volunteer Week, which takes place April 19th to 25th this year. As a town council that takes great pride in the strong culture of volunteerism that exists throughout our community, Diamond Valley Council is pleased to align with Volunteer Canada in declaring the week of April 19th, 25th as Volunteer Week in the town of Diamond Valley. Although difficult to measure the value volunteers bring to the community, the effects can be seen in many ways. When residents dedicate even a small portion of their time and talent to helping others or supporting causes they are passionate about, their efforts create a ripple effect that has a positive impact on the whole community. Volunteers in Diamond Valley support our businesses, our library, our hospital and care facilities. They serve as stewards to the community through our churches, service organizations, and schools. They also play a vital role in serving our committees of council, where they assist with decision-making and identifying solutions to issues facing our community and its citizens. They engage in fundraising efforts for charitable causes, clear snow from sidewalks, patrol our streets with enhanced safety for all, and even fill such critical roles as firefighters and first responders. The volunteers of Diamond Valley represent a diverse array of individuals, including families, workers, retirees, and community members of all ages and backgrounds. Whether they volunteer formally or informally, they all make a difference. Their collective efforts significantly contribute to making the town of Diamond Valley a vibrant and desirable place to live. Now, therefore, I, Brendan Kelly, Mayor of Diamond Valley, do hereby declare April 19th to the 25th, 2026, as Volunteer Week in Diamond Valley, and call upon my fellow citizens to acknowledge and appreciate the indispensable contributions made by volunteers to the betterment of our community. And on that note, we have volunteer appreciation at the library tomorrow night.
From 5 to 7.
And I will be there.
forgot we were invited to that.
And I will be there.
5 to 7.
5 to
Yeah.
7.
Yes.
Okay,
Do my best.
Good.
I'll drop in sometime.
volunteers
We all
don't have your
do, don't
time.
we? We usually just say hi to them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there it is. I think just as a final note, in the last few years, we've really realized the decline in volunteerism and how much of an impact that's had on our community. But I feel like we're starting to flip that script and we're moving in the right direction to enhance that and encourage it, like this document says. So awesome. Very happy to support that and looking forward to supporting those volunteers tomorrow night. Okay, last item was waste services. Oh, sorry, that's not the, because it's the last official item, and then we'll call that special. Perfect.
Right on. Thanks, Mayor Kelly, and volunteerism, so important. And I think our community really shines, to be honest with you.
I think
The
so.
amount of volunteers we have. But really quickly, in our consent agenda, for those of you who have had the agenda, hopefully you read through it. I wanted to pull this out because of the good news that we have with our waste services. So very quickly here, one of the main reasons we went to bi-weekly garbage pickup, so our black bins, was because there was an audit done and we found a substantial amount of material in the black bin that didn't belong. And it was being put into landfill, causing stress on our landfill. And so we made a very strategic decision to go to a bi-weekly garbage collection. And in 1 year, this data is phenomenal. I'm a big fan of data. Data should drive our decisions. And this is probably better than what I even personally expected. So number one, we had a garbage volume. So what was seen in our black bin, we have seen a reduction of 22.3%, almost identically put into organics. So that really kudos to our community. You're really following the direction that our waste services team has been given us to make sure what belongs in the black bin goes in the black bin. Utilizing the green bin, finally, I know in 2024, we had what we would have considered vastly underutilizing of the compost pickup. So our organics has increased. But if we scroll ahead, I want to note as well the financial offset that this has allowed us to realize. So our garbage alone, going to a bi-weekly bin schedule, we've seen over $13,500 reduced in the first year alone. That to me is significant. One of the tasks that we have had as a council is to really look at the overall efficiencies of what we're doing. And this is a big win for us. And I just wanted to make sure that that was on video, that it's recorded, not just in print, but that residents, you can hear us verbally noting that. So big shout out to our residents. Thank you so much for utilizing the 3-stream service. When I first joined council in 2017, did the campaigning, that was a major request. Can we get curbside in 3 streams? And we have it now. The program is working very well. So please keep that going. Make sure that you're putting your organics where they belong, the black bin material where that belongs, and using the recycling blue material as much as possible. So thank you, everyone. I just wanted to bring that to our attention.
Thanks for highlighting that, Councilor Gordon. It is important. And big thanks to the residents as well for following through. And thanks again to our Public Works, Craig, for kind of initiating what that first looked like for us so that we had a baseline, because that probably wasn't a great day. But I remember that report and it was very telling.
Was.
And that has certainly stuck with me. And, as a side note, and this is I don't mean to throw shade, if you will, but I was very surprised that a town as big as High River still does not have 3-stream.
Yeah.
And so, for a community our size to kind of jump through all the hoops that we have, having our own service, moving to 3-stream, trying to continue our own service, partnering with Okotoks, that was not an easy journey. And the case that I mentioned with Craig and his team as well, not an easy thing to have to do to kind of highlight the need to follow through on this. So well done to the residents, well done to administration and staff, and thanks for highlighting that for us, John.
Absolutely.
Okay, last note, and then I'll adjourn. We need to call a special meeting to order, and I don't. Did we say we? Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, the notice of motion. I just want to really quickly read
Thanks,
this.
Verna.
So we don't have all of council here, so I'm not expecting us to discuss it. So we have it before us, and the simple notice of motion is, whereas the town of Diamond Valley has recently added the R1N zone to the residential zoning library, and whereas this narrow lot allowance has opened the door for residential dwellings that are not conducive to our town's overall appeal, therefore be it resolved that council direct administration to provide the following amendment to both land use bylaws, 21-1114 and 2021-06. The residential dwelling unit on the R1N lot shall have its principal entry and exit facing the primary street on which the law is situated. This will come back to us at our next meeting of council.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Thanks for bringing that forward, John.
Yeah.
Something to put on the radar, folks. Okay. Am I right in saying this? Now we're gonna call.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, that's
I
okay.
missed that one.
I folded this up because I wanted some speaking notes, because I think based on how interactive we were tonight, I wanted to do some Facebook stuff maybe this weekend.
Yeah.
Just to kind of bring those residents that weren't privy to this conversation and likely will not watch a YouTube video because of the length and whatnot. So we're gonna have a special meeting on April 29th for our audit. There's gonna be a small component of that closed, and then we'll have a small component of it open. And I think that's it. You said you didn't need a motion for that. We just had to advertise it.
That's correct, your worship. So, yeah, we just thought it'd be good practice to tell everyone that we're having it on the 29th. But yeah, ultimately, all the mayor has to do is call it. So 6 o'clock, normal time to close. We'll probably start at 5:30. An email will go out, and that'll be on the website. Just something slightly different for those, just as a reminder, the financials are not attached to the agenda. They come live in the meeting.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate it. And so be known, I, Mayor Brendan Kelly, so set forth April 20th, I'm just joking. Okay, well, if that's it, nothing further. Meeting adjourned.